The stars align tonight, ready for our fight. You know we stand for well-being, out of sight. Close your eyes and imagine being free from your disguise. Made of spies that we're not what they have made us. Hear us, say us, fear us, fight and soul. The stars align tonight, ready for our fight. You know we stand for well-being, out of sight. Say goodbye to the sleepless night. Say goodbye to your fear of flying. Say goodbye to your wish to die. Say goodbye to the tears they made you cry. And so the stars align tonight, ready for our fight. You know we stand for well-being, out of sight. If you thought it was over now, no, we've just begun. It's bow down, stand and fight.
All right, kids, good morning. Welcome to another exciting episode. Really? No music's going to play again? Wow. For the first time, this computer is behaving. Welcome to another exciting episode of the original Red Pill Show. Today is Monday, August 9th, 2021. This show is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please use at your own risk. Show is copyrighted by me and Freedom Revolution Network. No part of it can be reused, rebroadcasted in any way, shape, or form without our written consent, or you can just ask. Finally, show is opinionated. That's why we do it. And this network exists. The hosts, especially me, callers 815-290-0912, guests, people that are naughty in the chat rooms, all of them, are and always will be opinionated under no circumstances whatsoever. Opinions listen to the experts. If you're in his or her field, they're a little Tommy. Hey, man, no, that's his name. What's going on? Okay. So here we go. I have decided, I've made a decision, something you're going to have to do without any type of coercion, influence, fear, whatever. You are going to have to make a decision soon. That decision could be I'm staying neutral. That's a study. But eventually you're going to have to make a decision. I have been trying for 13 years to wake people up after the financial meltdown. This is not going to be about me. Contrary to what people say, this is pretty much a come to Jesus episode here, because I'm essentially tired of trying to wake people up. I have some in my goal, I guess, that if I woke up one person, it's mission accomplished. And I know I have. But the cost to me has been reputation being destroyed, family being destroyed, starting over with nothing. And this was all people that loved me. Okay. This isn't outside forces. This is internal. This is betrayal. This is friends and things of that nature. And some of them have woke up, but most have not. And I really don't know. I don't want to, again, make it about me. I don't know what my ability is to see through the veil curtain and what's really going on. I think my environment, my upbringing, being used as an example through school, setting an example in a positive way. Not, oh, we're going to make an example of Tim and, whip him every day. No, that's not what I'm saying. It was a positive, set as an example, be like Tim, which I didn't ask for. And being misled, lied to, betrayed, being a victim of a sociopath, losing everything after a financial meltdown. It definitely, you either have to survive or you submit and become a victim and you're broken. I will not be broken. I'm 57 years old. I've lost everything, but I'm not going to lose my freedoms and my liberty and my pursuit of happiness at all. Now, what does that mean? That just means nothing. That's a mental barrier and a thought process for me. Doesn't mean I'm going to go out and do anything. Never, ever, never, never. But I will defend my rights as an American citizen and to obtain my dreams in pursuit of happiness until the day I die. This is going out on all the platforms. I've reactivated my Spreaker account, Podbean account, and it's on Freedom Revolution Network. I want to make it perfectly clear. This isn't about me, and it's not really even about you. It's about we. I know bullshit when I see it. Last night, I couldn't participate in Red Show with Scarlett and everybody else that was in the chat room and the fans on the Nuremberg Code. I had to go to bed. I am trying to fight this cold. And I took another day off to do that because I know my body. And I think one more day of rest, I'll be pretty good. But I can't just sit here and do nothing. And I got on the computer and I just went to beforeitsnews.com, infowars.com, reading stuff on Twitter, how people are getting attacked. And there is definitely an alignment. This is where your choice is going to have to be. And then it will expand or expound on that. You're going to have to make a choice where you're going to get vaccinated or you're not. That's it. And once you make that choice, Well, put it this way: once you make one side of that choice, there's no going back. You can't go back. You can't reserve it. You can't reverse it. And be it far from me to tell you what to do. I have never told people what to do. I have said things to make you think. But when I give my opinions, people think I'm trying to get them to think and agree with me. No. That's your politicians and elected servants and officials and people on the news that have agendas and narratives. That's their mission. It's not mine. Mine is for you to exercise your free will, but not thinking and making that decision through indoctrination, fear, coercion, threats, whatever, compliance. That is not freedom. You cannot make the right decision under duress. Nobody can. Trust me. When you're going through a divorce or have a loss of some kind of that intensity, your thinking process goes right out the window. Your head is up your ass. You can't make a right decision if it's just turning left or turning right. And in my opinion, that's what's going on right now. We are being so bombarded by bullshit that if you don't comply, you are killing people. You don't have the right. Somebody said on Twitter, not really attacking Joe Rogan, but saying in essence, after what Joe Rogan said, and I'm going to play that. It's one of the things I'm going to play, is that you don't have the right to infect me. It's like the groupthink process here. I never heard this stuff when somebody had the flu. Or any other type of illness that could be transmitted, regardless of how. And the hate and division that has been thrown up. The line is in the sand. You either are going to be vaccinated or you're not, if you want to call it that. I have tried. This network has tried. The Nuremberg Code, the technology. This is not your traditional vaccination, but nobody wants to hear that because you all trust what you're being told, and you cannot be faulted for that. It's like your parents telling you, don't play in the street, Tim. You're going to get run over. Oh, fuck you. I'm going to go play in the street. I like it. It's fun until you get run over by a car. But you trust your parents. So you know what? Maybe they know something I don't. Because they have their best interest for me. So that's what we do, because that's what we're taught to do. Lord knows I have tried, and I have tried, and I have tried. Here's my narcissism, I guess. To wake people up. And I am not happy with my results. And at this point, after 13 years, and what's going on now, if you're not awake and you cannot see the writing on the wall, there's just nothing that's going to do it. It's just not. There's not. So it's come from trying to wake people up to, you're going to have to make a decision. And I'm going to say something that you won't agree with because you haven't been in the position. You're going to have to make a decision what's best for you. I have made decisions based on other factors than me. Your family, your kids, your husband, your wife, people you work with, older people, younger people, blah, 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 blah. I will admit that that was a mistake. And that might sound selfish because that's exactly what it is. But I'm going to tell you something. After a person goes through losses to the extreme, I am sitting here in a 1-bedroom apartment by myself after being raising 2 kids that turned out wonderful, 2 granddaughters, married for 27 years with the same woman for 30 years, started a business, gave people jobs, gave opportunity. I did all of that, not for me, but for the people in my circle. And except for a select few, I could count on my hand, they're all gone. They're all gone. So here I sit in an apartment, looking back and going, where did I make my mistakes? So I'm going to ask you, your decision that you make, don't make it out of compliance or fear. Make it out of what the right decision is for you to survive. And that includes, but not limited to, storable foods, water, protection, whatever you have to do. Because I'm going to tell you this. I made the mistake of thinking that I was in a leadership protection position, which I was as a father and a business owner and a human being. But I got nobody here. And the ones that were behind me are the ones that put knives in my back, because all I was trying to do was look out for them. I had a whole basement because the whole 2012 horse shit, that it was the end of the world. My whole basement, half of it, let's say, full of water, storable food, canned goods, whole 9 yards to prepare. And oh boy, did I hear it. And you know what? Maybe so. Maybe it was just deserved. Oh, really? There's the Nephilim and Planet X, and really we're going to all die because the gravitational pull of this and the Mayan calendar and all that crap? I don't know. I don't know. But that was all speculation. What's going on now is factual. It's real. It's there. And you're going to have to decide what you're going to do. My gut's telling me, from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, and what I'm feeling, whatever that decision you make is going to be the road that you're going to travel in your journey. I don't know the destination. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Who does? But all I can do now is I can just play information that's based on facts for you to make that decision on your own. But I would set up boundaries and parameters into how you're going to make that decision, because we are tribal human beings, and you're going to talk to people in order for you to make your decision. And if you're going to do that, I would get both sides of it and still make your own decision. I just saw that people that are having intimate relationships and one of them decides to get the vaccination, they're ending the relationship because the unvaxxed person doesn't want to have the shedding or the transmission of whatever the fuck's in that thing for them to get contaminated or vaccinated or whatever word you want to use. These are the decisions you're going to have to make. And unfortunately, they're very intimate, strong bonds that make us human. So that's really all I'm going to say. I'm going to jump into the chat rooms here. I am going to sit here. This isn't all, well, it's queued up, but it's not recorded. It's going to be played live. I'm going to share all this shit for you to decide. I might make it 2 parts. I mean, this is ridiculous. There's a lot of stuff here, but I encourage you to listen to it. I don't know about, if you want to share it, it's up to you. Whatever. That's your decision. But I really think you should make up your own mind for you, because it's pretty much gone past talking to people about this. So you reaffirm your beliefs when all you're going to be told is you're fucking nuts. I've heard that plenty of times. But you need to tell these people they're nuts. Again, this isn't about me. It isn't about this network or anybody in it or anybody listening. You have a problem with any of this, you need to contact these people that are saying this stuff. All I am is a messenger. Do your homework. But I'm tired of the, oh, you got to listen to the experts. Oh, you got to listen to the science. Really? So if you were not contaminated by whatever, and you just let somebody freely walk into your space and they may or are contaminated, you're okay with that. I'm not. But I'm not going to be paranoid about it either. But if you, as an American citizen, need a vaccination passport just to live, but people that may be infected can just stroll into this country and get shipped to the 4 corners of this country, and then they get tested, that defies all science, logic, and common sense on the planet. So there's something here that's not right. Like Elmer Fudd says, hey, there's something screwy going around here. And I can't do my impressions very well because I'm sick. Probably can't do them very well anyway, but still. So I'm going to play some stuff. And I haven't listened to all of it, but I've listened to enough of it. It's off of Beyond News, beforeitsnews.com, and InfoWars, pretty much. So there you go. And if you want, I'll share the links in chat room. I'll try to. So before I let this thing go, I'm going to get in the chat rooms and see if anybody's got anything to say. What's up? You're still up from last night. You took a short nap. Lee took a short nap. Timmy, if you don't feel better, here we go. I sound like my mother. Timmy, if you do not feel any better by Wednesday, go to your urgent care center, get Z-Pack and some Mucinex. Yeah, probably. I already got that covered with the Mucinex. I wish I had some type of antibiotic. I don't though. But it's not a bad idea. Thank you. Believe me, I've been sick. I know my body. I'm getting better. I'm taking a bunch of crap. Homeopathic. So I'm good. It's just a really bad cold because I was on my back. I don't want to say my symptoms too much. Like, oh, Jesus Christ, blah, 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 blah. Because I've been sick like this before. So My strategy is because when I was 27 years old, I was sick. And then I got a little bit better. And then I just went back to my daily life routine, which was working out in the morning and working 12 hours a day. And it threw me in the hospital with pneumonia for 10 days and I about died. So I promised myself when I got sick, regardless of whatever it was, I would back off, which is very hard for me to do. So, because I'm a go-getter and an ass kicker, and I just don't like not doing nothing. But that's my pact that I made with myself. Resting and taking vitamins and eating and drinking and blah, 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 blah. So I'm fine. I just took one more day off of work just to make sure. But I'm good, but I appreciate that. So what else is going on? Everybody's saying hi to each other. How sweet. I stand with God. Will not get the jab. I'm not killing people because I stay on my farm or outside. Farm? I didn't know you're on a farm. And my friends are not getting the jab, and none of group have COVID. We lost two who took the. I'm sure I could fill in the blanks, but I'm not going to. So what's Darren saying? I just did my little rant here. And I'm not paying attention. Sorry. Been a while. Paying moving soon. Will be online more. Cool. All right, Darren, welcome. So there's some of the fans in the Freedom Revolution share. Go to Podbean, who's in there. Okay. Got Muhammad and Badass Seth. I don't know. So there's no one. And then the Spreaker. I don't even know. And there's my phone. So I will call them back in a second. That's good timing. So I'm just gonna play a montage, but they're long. And that's why I'm a little bit hesitant just to number one, there's time restraints on Podbean, I think, and definitely Spreaker, I think. But on Freedom Revolution Network, I can talk about this shit all day. But I think you'll get the gist of it regardless of how long you listen to this. You have to make a decision. That's it. Or you have to think about making a decision. I will say this and I will shut up. I have been told by family members, a wife, daughter, friends, that this is all healed except my wife. I'm not healed, but fixed. Not my wife. She's too far gone. Friends. One thing I've learned, two things I've learned. You really can't trust anybody, and that's very sad to say. Number two, a lot of people like playing art of war with you. And they will lie to you to get what they want from you. And by the time you figure out what's going on, it's too late. Then if you throw a sociopath in your life, you're really going to find out what's going on, and your sanity is going to be tested. People are losing their fucking mind right now because, in my opinion, you are being exposed to sociopathic tactics by whomever. But you won't know that as much as I can say, well, I know how it feels to be pregnant because it's never going to happen. And bless your heart that you've never been exposed to a sociopath because you won't even know it. And you don't know it now because you can't see it. And I'm calling them out. People don't like to be called out. Regardless of that, when I was going through what I was going through until I identified it with my therapist, what was going on. Use your gut. Use your gut. Does this make sense? Is that right? Is this good? Is this evil? And don't judge the person, judge the situation. And for you, you're going to have to make the right decision. And I pray to God that you do. So that's enough of that preaching crap. Here we go. Bahram Eve. Oh, hey, dude, before I start. So how's your podcast going? Bahram Eve podcast in the Podbean. I'm sick, man. So my head's really on my ass. Podbean chat room. How's your podcast going, man? Is it going good? I bet you're learning a lot of shit. So keep it up. Keep it up. Whatever it's about. Really good. Thank you. Uploaded my 10th episode. Yeah, good. Yeah. And don't give up. I've not given up. I just, shit happens to me where I can't do it anymore. Like not having a job for a month. And it's like, well, I really can't afford the $20 for Podbean or 14 or whatever the hell it is. And then the 20 for Spreaker, and then Freedom Revolution Network is paid for by the network. So that's fine. But I just think the more exposure, the better. But yeah, whatever it is, dude, keep it up. So BitChute, I have no idea what that is. YouTube had my third strike already. Oh yeah, welcome to that. Okay, this is what I'm going to tell you. Do not put your faith, trust, and confidence in any platform, especially if it's monetized. Because they're going to fuck you sideways. They're going to ban you. I know a lot of people. Sheila Selinsky, look her up. I worked with her at Freedomizer Radio 10 years ago. And she put all her eggs in one basket. And she's not the only one with platforms that were monetized. And when they deplatform you, you lose your income. And she's found other ways to get around that. God bless her. But just look her up, Sheila Selinsky. And I've tried to get a hold of her. She ignores me. So I don't, whatever. I mean, I wish her the best because it's not about me. And it might not even be that. There's something I watched yesterday on one of the TED things on YouTube. And it was about being offended or taking shit personally. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I watched it. It's like 18 minutes. And this guy comes up there. He's from like the UK or whatever. And he wanted to learn the lesson of not taking things personally by becoming a soccer referee. And think about it. I mean, you're not going to make anybody happy. The fans, one team, the other team. Oh, what are you, blind? Jesus, you don't know what you're doing. You're an asshole. And it has nothing to do with him. And that's a great way, because I have a hard time not taking shit personally. And I say that because Sheila Selinsky, I don't think it's personal. I don't know what it is, but it's not personal. It has nothing to do with me. But I think it does, because she's ignoring me. But whatever. Yeah, if you really want to learn the lesson of not taking things personally, go be a soccer referee, which I did when I was a kid, teenager. I did 1 or 2 games because I was asked. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was very interesting perspective, being in a situation that you're not going to make anybody happy, but you can't take it personally. So I don't know if that helps or not. You would love to do an episode with me sometime. Sure. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Let me know how to get a hold of you. Put it here in the chat room. I don't know. You can leave a message on what is it? Google Voice, 815-290-0912. You can call me there. How to get a hold of you. There you go. Throw that up there. Yeah, this is great, man. I'd love to. I mean, I don't care. It's an open book with me. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, you got me on Twitter? Okay, cool. If I don't know anything about it, I ain't going to talk about it because I'm not a know-it-all by any means. But if I know something about it, experience it, I have no problem sharing it. So there you go. So let's get into this shit. So yeah, hit me up anytime, dude. Send me a message on Twitter if you're following me on Twitter, which is what is it? Original Red Pill? I think. Hell, I don't even know anymore. I think that's what it is. All right, so here we go. All right. One more peep in the garlic soup and natural antibiotics. That's what I'm working on. You know what? I might do, Pamela, I might do the honey thing because my throat's like fucked up. Come out on our 5th lockdown tonight at midnight for regional Victoria. Dude, are you in Canada? Darren, are you in Canada? Oh my God. So a little disclaimer, I did listen to some of the stuff I'm going to play, and there's a comment about Canadians. So like I said, I don't agree or disagree with any of this shit. This is for you. This is for you to make a decision. That's it. Because I'm done. I mean, I'm not done, but I'm done. I'm done trying to preach to the choir. Oh, you're in Australia. Okay. Victoria. I thought you're in, I think there's a Providence, Victoria in Canada. I could be wrong. All right. Well, dude, I'm sorry, man. I mean, but there is a guy. No, that's right, dude. Don't worry about it. Don't apologize. There is a guy from Australia on a rant on something I'm going to play here, and I think it's right out of the box. So, yeah, like I said, this network, me, anybody else, doesn't necessarily agree with everything that's being said here. This is for you. It's a disclaimer. This is for you to make a decision. I don't think anybody at this network, and including me, that every single thing I hear I agree with. Of course not. Who does? But if it makes you think and look into it, oh, it's a bunch of horseshit. That's bullshit. Oh, yeah? Well, why don't you look into it and see if it really is bullshit? Why don't you open your mind a little bit and erase your indoctrination? Oh, that's not what I was told. That's not what I was taught. Maybe it is. I'm going to try to get V1 on here too. She's probably had enough too, but I can't speak for her. But anyway, so there you go. Yeah, there is a Victoria in Canada. Okay, so I'm not losing my mind. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so here we go. This is off of, what the hell is it? ForexNews.com, and then the rest of the shit's from, the rest of the information's from InfoWars. Again, don't shoot the messenger. Listen to this. This is some intense information. I'm going to play stuff from medical doctors. Make your own decision. And the questions and issues that are being brought up. Like, for instance, as morbid as this sounds, why would you want to kill a bunch of old people? Not that you would want to. I'm just, see, you have to listen to the phrasing in what I'm saying. Did I just say we need to kill a bunch of old people? No. I said, why would you want to kill a bunch of old people? Why? Just keep asking why. Why? Why? That's it. Not, oh, well, we are. Who's doing that? Or, I'm not saying anybody is. I'm saying, why would you want to? Why would you want to lock people down? Why would you want them to lose their job? Why would you want to force an experimental vaccination on people? Why? That's it. Why? Don't twist it. Don't judge people and put them in groups. Well, I don't think the vaccinated should go to baseball games and this and that and go to bar and eat and live and exercise their God-given rights and freedoms. Why? LinkedIn's already full of this shit. The Wall Street Journal, check it out. Wall Street Journal just put in to the effect, and I already got into discussions on this, asking employees and future hires if they had the vaccination. You're treading on very slippery slopes, which should be handled by an attorney. But the question was, be careful when you ask this stuff, or should you ask this stuff if you do it in the wrong way or some shit like that. And I just said, if I still ran my company, I would never ask that question. Number one, it could violate HIPAA laws. Number two, it's definitely against the first law of the Nuremberg Code, not to mention probably the rest of the 9 of the laws. I would never ask an employee or a future hiree if they've been vaccinated for anything. And then one response from some gentleman was, well, I would assume that the legal department of a company would already look into this. And my answer to that was, assumption really has never worked out for me. And in fact, from what I read, Governor DeSantis for Florida has already passed a law specific to the cruise lines and other businesses that you can't even ask that. And if you do, you would allegedly get $5,000. So there's already shit going on. If you want to get into the legalities of it, hire an attorney. But one thing I do know, please educate yourself on the Nuremberg Code. Read it, understand it, do your homework on it, and then again, make your own decision. That's enough. I mean, I've been talking for what, 45 freaking minutes? I didn't even want to talk. So here we go. This is the first thing off of beforeitsnews.com, and the rest of it will be filed by InfoWars. I don't know how I'm going to go, how long I'm going to go. But I am going to listen to this. But I'm going to be honest, I got to pee and I got to get some coffee. But I am going to listen to this. But I did listen to this. Somebody put this together. And my mouth dropped. That's very hard to do. So get ready. Have an open mind, but make your own informed decision. That's it. All right. So here we go. Enjoy.
What I'm about to say is going to piss pretty much everyone off. Because yes, the Democrats are sheep, but so are the Trump supporters. You know why? Yeah, the vaccine, everyone knows it's poison, but so does Trump. And Trump is pushing it. And do you know why he's coming back? He's coming back. That is true. But the reason why, this was all planned from the start, to start a civil war.
I will be watching, I will be listening, and I will tell you that the future of this country has never been better. We love you. We will be back in some form. So have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's Saturday, August 7th, 2021. And remember, you are the Paul Reveres. You are the men and women in the arena. It's when you get excited and you share this information that it has its biggest effect. Now get ready for this. It's shocking that they're pushing an experimental injection that is a gene therapy that doesn't work and makes people super sick. It's incredibly shocking that 95% of the people sick and dying in Israeli hospitals, their government admits, took the vaccine. And it's the vaccine doing it, not the Delta variant. And it's the same numbers in Australia, same numbers in Gibraltar, same numbers in Iceland, same numbers in Singapore. It's incredible. Upwards, well, it's 99+% in Australia. One person is in the hospital in Australia that didn't have the vaccine. All the other dead and dying and thousands in the hospital took the shot. That's massive. This is so important. And again, usually we're way ahead of the curve. I already knew about their whole agenda here, but this is AI takeover of our lives. This is so evil to tax you by the mile and so much more. And we've got to come together and say, no, this is a globalist revolution against the individual, a big tech complete takeover. And the heart of it is these digital IDs. Once they get the digital ID, the vaccine passport, that's your financial cashless society system. That's your social credit score. People are finally getting that. And the UN and others admit that's the plan. So it's a lot bigger than just making sure you, quote, have these dangerous vaccines. This is about totally controlling every facet of your life. And Klaus Schwab and others admit that. And once they've got that, they can incrementally totally control every aspect and consolidate control. Share this video because history is happening and an authoritarian revolution has struck at humanity, but humanity's waking up and saying, no, the globals are trying to put the chains on right now. We've got to refuse them. This governmental, corporate, digital straitjacket must not ever be firmly placed on us. This is the time to rebel peacefully. This is the time to say no. And it starts by sharing this feed now. Here's Tucker Carlson last night.
Instead, this bill will make science denial official. It will enshrine gender identity in federal law. It would allow the government to track your driving. Why? So they can charge you a fee for every mile you go. This in addition to the gas tax. And scariest of all, this bill requires all new vehicles in the United States to come with monitoring technology, such as eye scanners or breathalyzers. And that means that going forward, you will need the express permission of your federal overlords before you start your car in the morning, because it's their car now. As of tonight, 20 Republican senators appear to support this lunacy. The final vote is this weekend, so if you have views about this, you might want to let them know right away. They assume you're not paying attention, so they can do whatever they want to you. And in this case, they are.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
So green zones is what they're labeling it, aka internment camps or concentration camps. And this is known as the shielding approach. And it's right there on the CDC website. And I really feel like your viewers and all of America need to know about what this shielding approach is. Because again, it's being built right now. These camps are being built right now in neighborhoods, and they're about to unleash this on us. We know that a lot of people have been talking about how Biden is probably going to issue another lockdown, another nationwide lockdown. A lot of people are predicting August 11th. Now, we don't know if he's going to go through with that or not, but that's the fodder. That's the talk of the town, is another lockdown. But going along with that is this, what they're calling a shielding approach. And what the shielding approach is removing people from their households, from their families, even separating couples who they believe are high risk, right? High risk for COVID, and putting them in these camps. The camps will be built all over different communities all across the nation. Every city will have these camps. And of course, what do they consider as high risk individual? Anyone who is elderly and anyone who has any kind of a immunocompromised condition or pre-existing condition. And then, of course, I would imagine that they would believe that anyone who's not vaccinated is a high risk individual, right? So great, they go and rip the person from their home against their will. Doesn't matter, because it's all for the purpose of health. Put them in this internment camp or green zone, if you will, and keep them there. for at least 6 months. They're saying the program would be at least 6 months, but there's a caveat in there in this document that says they have the right to extend it indefinitely until the pandemic of COVID disappears.
They're going to hold you for 6 months, which, you know, they're very good at keeping their timeline promises. As you know, we're approaching the end of the 15 days to slow the spread, 15 days to flatten the curve. We're almost there. Just hang on.
Yeah, exactly. But still, it says here, though, don't worry, because there's latrines in here. Don't worry. There's latrines and there's showers in here as well. Yeah. But each person is given cleaning supplies because the individual is responsible for keeping their own space in this concentration camp clean, by the way. Who knows what happens to you? What kind of punishment if you don't keep your cleaning space clean?
And this is all written at the CDC's website.
This is all written in the CDC website. So in summary, this is happening. They're building this right now. And we're either going to stand up against this now, and this is the slippery slope with the vaccines, separating the vaccine from the non-vaccinated and having the vaccinated be responsible or demonized and pinned as the ones responsible. They're going to be the ones to blame for why we need this shielding approach, because if it weren't for the unvaccinated, we wouldn't have to have the COVID continue. We wouldn't have to have the shielding approach. There was just a document that Natural News actually found. And it states, and again, this is public knowledge, public information, that the UK government is seeking a contract for what they call excess body storage in a preparation for some sort of a mass extermination event. And this is a procurement of a contract with the Westminster City Council, specifically of the UK, is looking for facilities. They're seeking government contracts to have facilities to store mass bodies. And right here it says for crematoriums and public conveniences. And they admit that they're looking for these mass body storages in the event of an excess deaths situation for the 32 London boroughs and the City of London. This is a contract that they say is supposed to last 4 years. So apparently the government is expecting some sort of a mass event of a mass death situation sometime very soon. And they're seeking government facilities to hold these bodies. So what are we supposed to think, Stu? I mean, are we supposed to think that, yeah, they're planning for these massive deaths? Are they going to be starving us out? Are they going to be shutting off institutions or shutting off gas, food, things like that? Are they going to also be starving people of medical treatment?
What are you going to do about it? That's the question. Right. What are you going to do about it?
Sometimes you got to stir the fools up. Sometimes you got to stir the pot. If you think I'm going to kowtow down to a wicked, godless culture that is never going to accept me, that is never going to accept Jesus, that is never going to like our church. You see, here's what the left has told us. If you comply, if you compromise, if you comply, if you compromise, eventually you'll get in our good graces. No, because you'll never comply enough. You'll never compromise enough. You will never get in the good graces of godless people because all they want is compliance. Now I'm going to go on record and just say something right now while I'm talking about this. They talking about shutting down this nation for round 2. Talking about masking everybody back up, shutting down churches. Hey, my hind leg, if they think they're going to shut this church down, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that right now in the name of God. There will be serving Frosties in hell before we shut this place down just because a buck wild demon-possessed government tells us to. Knock on my door, ask me if I got a vaccine, my hind leg. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. I tell you that right now.
Stay home, stay safe. Stay home, stay safe.
Oh man, are we tired of this yet? Are people finally cluing in that this is a lie? I don't know. I'm worried for Canada because most of these idiots are just still eating it up like the best cake they've ever tasted. And what I've noticed about Canadians is how bloody spineless they are. So not only stupid, but have no backbone whatsoever. They're going to keep doing this. And people actually think that if you just comply, and the vaccine is going to save you, and they're going to just stop and you'll go back to normal. Are you fucking crazy?
I ain't playing their games. Shut the nation down for a second time. You know why? Because people ain't afraid no more. It didn't hurt the economy bad enough. You know what happens when they shut down private businesses? They open government businesses. Government ain't hurt one bit. So all that to say, don't believe this Delta variant nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. I know right-wing watching. I don't care. If they go through round 2 and you start showing up all these masks and all this nonsense, I'll ask you to leave. I will ask you to leave. I am not playing these Democrat games up in this church. If you want a social distance, go to First Baptist Church, but don't come to this one. I'm done with it. I said I'm done with it.
The cunt needs a big fucking punch in the face. I've never seen so much bullshit acting in all my COVID shield. Then he says he has the audacity to say nobody in Australia has caught COVID and died from COVID, but you motherfuckers have locked us in and out. It's like you've got your dick and you're constantly fucking us in the ass. If nobody in Australia has caught COVID and died in Australia, what the fuck have you done to us, you sons of bitches? And you people still lay down, and you people still listen to the bullshit, and none of you want to go to war.
I ain't playing these stupid games. Bunch of pastors talking about how much they want to see people healed. They're afraid to baptize people because of a Delta variant. I'm sick of it. We got visitors like, oh my goodness, what did I walk into? We like this every week. We like this every week. I'm just saying, they've already said it. Fox News just put it out. Yeah, Todd Starnes, he's a pretty good guy, right? He said, they're going for round 2. They're going to shut down the nation. My hind leg, they're going to shut us down. Don't you go for it. They say, well, if you would just comply, this whole thing would go away. You really believe that? It's never going to go away because you've been compliant about it. They know who's going to be a problem, and they know who they can control. And I don't care what you or anybody else say. I'm going to be a problem moving forward. I'm not giving into this mess.
How do you sleep at night knowing that you partaked in the biggest hoax, the biggest murder of people in the history of Australia? I want every single Australian to every single son of a bitch that says to you, oh, someone that died of COVID, knock the fucking cunt out.
I'm telling you now, based on the authority of the Word of God, you call it a prophecy, you call it what you want to. I am not going to play their games.
What I'm about to say is going to piss pretty much everyone off because, yes, the Democrats are sheep, but so are the Trump supporters. You know why? Yeah, the vaccine, everyone.
When they started saying they wanted to go and inject children whose natural immune system is far superior than any vaccine or product could be. I mean, just their natural immune response, you couldn't make something statistically or clinically superior to that. That was when a red flag went off. And I thought I would just start investigating more of the data that I could find online from the FDA filings, as well as, some of the studies that were done to just prove that it wasn't necessary for children to get injected. And when I found the patents, I was very alarmed because they didn't read as a vaccine. They read as a bioweapon, basically. And then I went back and I found some of the original studies where they used bat coronaviruses and spiked them, if you will. They used they created these chimeric superviruses using HIV glycoproteins and the GAG protein. And it was very alarming and upsetting. And when I realized what Americans were making themselves susceptible to, it was an anchor around my heart. So I put together a 2-page email with all the references and the studies and the patents, and I sent it out to about 30 or so media outlets and influencers.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with the most important commercial that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 5 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, it's all come down to this. I'm having a cyber symposium on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. This historical event will be live streamed 72 hours straight on my new platform, frankspeech.com. You can help by getting everybody you know to go to frankspeech.com now. To help support this Cyber Symposium event, I am offering some of the best prices ever on MyPillow products, but they're only offered at frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive MyPillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Andrew Kaufman, your guest host once again for the Alex Jones Show. And thank you so much, Alex and Chris Sky, for that last segment. It's great to see Chris's courage to be a rebel against the tyranny in Canada. Well, today I have a very special guest as well. Karen Kingston is planning to join us, and she is a consultant from the pharmaceutical and medical device industry who has recently decided to go public with some very important information, not only about the ingredients in the so-called COVID vaccines, but also some inside information about the clinical trials and some of the obfuscation of data and outcome information that we have seen in the recent past. So, Karen, are you with us? Welcome to the Alex Jones Show.
I am. Can you guys see me, hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So, Karen, you've been very courageous in the past couple of weeks. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided to speak publicly about these issues?
Sure. I've been in the pharma med device industry for just over 25 years now, and I had my own full service consulting agency for a number of years, and I've been an independent consultant for the past 10 years. Sometimes I'm an interim CMO or marketing director for international companies, but basically I'm an analyst. So companies hire me to take a look at all the clinical data, the IP landscape, med legal regulatory guidelines, and legislation, case law, and I basically come up with strategies and messaging to best move forward to continue to grow their market share, and also take a look at potential IP extensions for products.
Wow, that's quite a broad category of expertise. So this includes like the patent landscape, the intellectual property. It includes regulatory issues as well as marketing and business strategies. Am I summing it up correctly?
Yeah, because there's strategic business units within companies. So there's portfolios of products. So you have to decide what you're going to focus on, where you have the greatest opportunity for growth and what you need to discontinue. So you have to understand your IP as well as the competitive landscape for a long-term growth strategy, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. So this must give you, a lot of exposure to various inside conversations, correspondence, and back and forth with regulatory agencies that would kind of inform your expertise to the current situation.
No, I work directly with the lawyers of the companies or the C-level executives, and they're also their clinical staff, their MDs and PhDs. So I don't present my own information. I give my information to those individuals, and then they present it to the FDA, or investors or whatnot, not me.
Right. But I mean, you see some of the correspondence and you talk to these people, right? So you kind of know a little bit about the workings of the company and the regulation and the industry in general.
Oh yeah. I see the warning letters and things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So what led you to, come and speak out with the information that you're currently talking about?
Well, I think everyone who works in the industry and understands viruses and pandemics, from the get-go, we probably saw back in March of last year that it seemed like we were getting set up for a vaccine rollout. And, that was suspicious, but nothing too alarming. It's kind of like, well, this is Big Pharma doing their thing again. And, when I looked at the data, I was like, okay, it's a palliative treatment, and which isn't a vaccine, and that is what it is. But when they started saying they wanted to go and inject children whose natural immune system is far superior than any vaccine or product could be, I mean, just their natural immune response, you couldn't make something statistically or clinically superior to that. That was when a red flag went off. And I thought I would just start investigating more of the data that I could find online from the FDA filings, as well as, some of the studies that were done to just prove that it wasn't necessary for children to get injected. And when I found the patents, I was very alarmed because they didn't read as a vaccine. They read as a bioweapon, basically. And then I went back and I found some of the original studies where they used bat coronaviruses and spiked them, if you will. They used they created these chimeric superviruses using HIV glycoproteins and the GAG protein. And it was very alarming and upsetting. And when I realized what Americans were making themselves susceptible to, it was an anchor around my heart. So I put together a 2-page email with all the references and the studies and the patents, and I sent it out to about 30 or so media outlets and influencers.
Wow, well, that's fantastic. And I'm so glad that you decided to make this important contribution. So let's get right into the vaccine technology. And if you could bring up the first slide, please. So this is a representation of the ingredients in the vaccines. And I know that Karen, you expressed some serious concern about one particular ingredient. And if you look at the slide here, it's the longest names. It has crazy names, these chemicals. But if you could go to slide 2, Karen, why don't you tell us a little bit about the so-called lipid nanoparticles?
Sure. And if you're looking at the ingredient slide, it's that, 80 or so alphanumeric name that ends in the 2000, the PEG 2000. That stands for polyethylene glycol 2000. You can find that listed in the Moderna patent. I think it's on page 29 or 30 of the Moderna patent. And so basically the lipid nanoparticles are made up of 4 lipids. So keep in mind that mRNA or RNA viruses, single helix viruses, are very unstable. 80-degree weather kills them, sunlight kills them. Even the inventors of the mRNA vaccine say, if you look at it wrong, it falls apart. So they needed to create a biosphere to protect it. So the biosphere contains 4 lipids. One is cholesterol. Our blood loves cholesterol. The second is a phospholipid. The phospholipid enables the lipid nanoparticle to adhere to the cell membrane for penetration. There's an ionizable lipid, so that gives it a positive ionic charge for penetration. And then there's the pegylated lipid, which is the polyethylene glycol lipid. And all evidence shows, if you take a look at where it's being manufactured and what's in it, it has graphene oxide in it as well. And graphene oxide can withstand 1700 degree Fahrenheit temperature. It's 4,000 times stronger than titanium. So basically, the inventors took a very unstable molecule, a single helix RNA or synthetic RNA molecule protein, and they encapsulated it in a biosphere that made it indestructible.
Wow. So if I could summarize, Karen, that basically what we have here is that the manufacturers are trying to deliver either a piece of messenger RNA to the cells in the people that are vaccinated. And of course, we know that mRNA as just a standalone molecule. And by the way, the mRNA that's in these injections is actually made synthetically, not by a natural organism. But it's very unstable, right? So it needs two things. It needs protection, right? And so these spherical nanoparticles made of these lipids, which is another name for fats, right, protects it so that it's stable. And then also it is like a delivery vehicle, right? Kind of like it has the address for a cell written on it. And those lipids help it fuse with the cell membrane and deliver that mRNA. And another name for these lipid nanoparticles is hydrogels. And that's going to be important to look at some of the research that we're going to examine with respect to graphene oxide. So once again, we have Karen Kingston, pharmaceutical and medical device insider on the Alex Jones Show. And I'm your host, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, filling in this week for the 4th hour. And when we come back, we'll be talking more about the ingredients of vaccines with a special focus on graphene oxide and the toxicity of the hydrogel lipid nanoparticles. Hello, and welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Once again, I'm your guest host for this 4th hour, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, and I have with me today pharmaceutical and medical device industry consultant and insider, Karen Kingston. And we had just begun talking about some of the ingredients in the vaccine, specifically the lipid nanoparticles. And if we could have slide number 3, this is just a representation to see that these particles actually are distributed very, very widely throughout the body and seem to be concentrated in the genital and reproductive system. So that's something to be important of. And if we go to the next slide after that, so Karen has uncovered a sort of chain of custody or supply chain of custody of the vaccine manufacturers using graphene oxide in these hydrogel lipid nanoparticles. So Karen, you want to tell us a little bit about what you've uncovered?
Andy, I can't, my screen is completely frozen. I'm not sure what you're sharing right now. I'm so sorry. So
that's okay. You don't have to worry about what's being shown, but you were talking about uncovering that there's a Chinese manufacturer that makes many of the excipient ingredients for the vaccine. I didn't know it was on the screen. So if you take a look at the ingredients that are listed in the FDA phase 3 filings and the initial new drug application for the mRNA vaccines, that's Pfizer and Moderna, you'll see that they have a 7-digit alphanumeric names. I believe the Pfizer one you're probably showing is ALC0159. That is the material safety data sheet CAS number. If you go to a company called Cinepeg.com, you can search by those CAS numbers, the category numbers, and it'll pull up that 80 alphanumeric name of the lipid nanoparticle. And what you'll find is there's a whole tab on COVID-19 excipients for these mRNA LNP vaccines. And those are not just for the United States vaccines, but for other vaccines that require this encapsulation. And on the site, they also do talk about how these are polyethylene glycol graphene oxide cores or core shells. And there's some studies that have been done in animals with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. And what you'll find is those link back to other studies that talk about how these LNPs are used as a theranostic, which is also listed in the Moderna vaccine, because the graphene oxide is an excellent conductor of electromagnetic fields for diagnostic purposes. Theranostic stands for therapeutic and diagnostic. And so without seeing this stuff and walking you guys through it, it sounds, there's many documents that tie together, and they have the same exact alphanumeric code. They have the same diagrams, and they all go back to the patent
or this company in China, and peer-reviewed publications, and also Chemical and Engineering News, which is the non-peer-reviewed journal for this industry.
Right. Now, Karen, so, it sounds like you've done some real detective work here. And what you're describing is essentially if you track down where the drug companies that make these so-called vaccines actually buy the various ingredients, and then you look at various regulatory documents and suppliers and find, right, buried in their intellectual property and in articles on their website that they're essentially using graphene oxide in combination with these. And this really shouldn't be terribly surprising because after graphene oxide was invented, graphene, which led to a Nobel Prize being awarded, the European Union established the graphene flagship, which was a 1 billion euro enterprise to fund all research related to graphene, and much of it was in the biomedical space. So if we look, for example, at slide 4, we find that graphene-based hydrogels, because that's what we're talking about, graphene oxide being essentially intermingled with the lipid nanoparticle shell, that we see that it is successful for gene delivery, which is exactly what the Moderna and Pfizer products are alleged to do. And if we go to the slide after that, then we'll see that actually graphene oxide has been tested in a flu vaccine before. And one more slide, we can find a coronavirus vaccine patent from China that also uses graphene oxide. And graphene is, talked about as a miracle material because it has some very unusual properties, and it can add that functionality that Karen was alluding to for therapeutic, like drug delivery, gene delivery, as well as potentially diagnostic purposes. So we could be injected with nanoparticles to tell us that we are sick. So
yeah,
Karen,
I want to add,
please.
Sorry, can I ask what you're saying in regards to graphene oxide? I think it's important for people to know that Moderna was an oncology, a cancer therapy company. It was not a vaccine company. So there's I found over 24 articles on graphene oxide for ovarian cancer treatment. So I just want to read a couple titles to you to just solidify that Moderna has been researching graphene oxide for various reasons, or in all of oncology using gene therapy. So graphene oxide, silver nanocomposites, enhance cytotoxic and apoptotic potential in human ovarian cancer cells. Cytotoxic means it kills cells, and apoptotic means cell death. So that's what that means. Sorry if I mispronounced. Reduced graphene oxide, silver nanoparticle, nanocomposites, a potential anti-cancer nanotherapy. This is the International Journal of Nanomedicine. Lipid nanoparticles for nucleic acid delivery, current perspectives. This is a great one because this actually specifically goes over the mRNA vaccines. This is published in, where is this published? It's at Elsevier. Sorry, I don't see the publication name on here. Anyway, there's dozens of studies with graphene oxide used in lipid nanoparticle delivery and in ovarian cancer treatment, specifically to annihilate or wipe out those ovarian cancer cells. And it's just coincidental that the data from Japan under the Freedom of Information Act showed that the lipid nanoparticles go through the blood and then end up in the ovaries, and then as well as in bone marrow.
Absolutely. And we also know from the study of graphene specifically that it tends to accumulate in organs and tissues over time because the body doesn't have a ready-made mechanism to get rid of it. And Karen, I'm so glad you brought up those cancer research, but really it's just the tip of the iceberg. If you start searching in the medical and scientific literature for biomedical applications of graphene, you're going to be overwhelmed with dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of articles, because there are books published and over 1,000 peer-reviewed publications on this topic. So it is highly prominent in the developing technology. And, we talked about this also specifically in terms of a gene therapy, because that's really what Moderna's research and product development has been all about. And that is the real technology that is being used for these vaccines. And interestingly, though, this has been exploited. Special guest Karen Kingston, pharmaceutical and medical device industry consultant and insider. Welcome back. So, Karen, before the break, we were just about to get into the regulatory aspects of the so-called vaccine products. And we have been talking about them as gene therapy, but that's not exactly how they were dealt with by the FDA. Is that correct?
That's correct, but that was just an intentional misnomer so that they could get the laissez-faire, no liability under all the vaccine regulatory that allows them to not be held liable for any deaths or injuries due to the vaccine. So that was there's nothing about them that makes them a vaccine. Dr. Martin went over the U.S. Patent Office's definition of a vaccine, which is that it must prevent infection, and this does not prevent infection. And they actually sent a letter to Dr. Fauci, I believe in 2006, saying just because you elicit a immune response doesn't mean it's a immune response that merits a vaccine. And even if you take a look at the FDA trials specifically, I went through a lot of detail in the Pfizer-BioNTech trials. They don't prevent infection. As a matter of fact, more patients were presenting with COVID-19 in the vaccine group than in the vaccine group than the placebo group. Pardon me.
Wow, yes. And I want to get into the details of that, but isn't it true that there is actually a regulatory guidance document from the FDA and Health and Human Services, and if we could bring up slide 7, which is a guidance for gene therapy products. And in this guidance, right, by their own definition, they say a gene therapy product is a product that mediates its effects by translation of transferred genetic material, which is exactly how we've described this vaccine technology, is it not, Karen?
Yes, it is. And this is another one of the documents I found on the FDA website. So the mRNA vaccines are, as you said here, they are a synthetic ribonucleic acid that through translation produces a virion, which is the spike protein in the people that have been injected in the bodies.
Let's just be clear. It produces the spike protein. A virion would be a complete virus particle with the envelope, the proteins in the envelope, as well as the genetic material. But here we don't have a complete genome of a virus organism. We just have, actually, I don't even believe it's a complete spike protein gene. I believe it's just a subunit of the spike protein. But we have essentially one gene that is transcribed into a messenger RNA, or in the Johnson & Johnson, it's a DNA product, but it's not a complete, it's supposed to basically make a protein, but not a whole virus.
Yeah, that's correct. It doesn't create the whole virus. It's a particle of the virus.
Right. And if we look at the next slide, in this regulatory document, it talks about shedding. So you want to tell us what that is?
This is not according to the FDA. What they talk about is that when you use gene therapies and your body produces, part of a virus, in this case, it would be the spike protein. There is a high risk that those who are injected can then infect the uninjected with that production, that biological production of the spike protein. That's basically what shedding is. They talk about Go on.
So whatever product, basically the gene that they're using in the gene therapy encodes for, right? In this case, it's the spike protein, but like in a cancer patient, it may be related to an oncogene or something like that, right? For a different gene therapy. But that product is a foreign protein, right, to us. And it can be, since it's produced by our body, or at least that's what they tell us, right? It can actually be then in our bodily secretions and can pass to another person, right? Or be transmitted.
Yeah, it can be transmitted through different ways: respiratory, through your saliva, through your breath. There can be dermal transmission as well, and then they talk about semen and feces. There was an incident in Bears where a mother was vaccinated after her second Pfizer vaccine. She was breastfeeding a 5-month-old baby boy, and he died from VIT, vaccine-induced thrombocytopenia and thrombosis. And he was obviously unvaccinated, but from the breast milk, there was transmission.
Wow. And I'll tell you that I've actually been also part of a survey research that we haven't released fully publicly yet, but we have 5,000 subjects who were interviewed who had various symptoms that are the types of symptoms that people experience from the vaccine. And we did find that people who are intimate partners, right? In other words, they exchange body fluids just like you discussed. Now, you discussed a parent-child with nursing, of course, which is a slightly different relationship. But we found a significantly increased risk of these symptoms when a intimate partner or family member that there's an exchange of body fluids was vaccinated recently. So this is something that the FDA really knew that was a risk and a possibility. And don't they require this to be looked at in preclinical studies?
Yeah, they require for it to be looked at in the animal studies, for shedding, to then determine whether or not it even merits to move on to human studies. And then in human studies, in the phase 1 trial, if there is risk to those men and women of childbearing age or transmission to one another, they're supposed to stop the trial. But if you take a look at the phase 1 protocol in the IND for Pfizer, what they did was they had men who were intimate with women of childbearing age to use 2 forms of protection. Also, those men were not allowed to be near or around a pregnant woman. If they breathed near one, they had to report it to the safety board. And women were not allowed to participate if they were trying to get pregnant. And that's completely normal. That's a normal protocol for most studies. But what's not normal is that the male participant isn't even allowed to be around a pregnant woman. And he, if he is intimate with a woman, not even getting her pregnant, but just intimate with a woman who wasn't participating, they had to report that to the safety board. So the FDA was full aware of the fact that this was high risk of transmission and shedding with the vaccines. But if they excluded those groups from the phase 1 trial, these studies could have never moved forward to phase 2 or 3, or now this open, just free-for-all experiment. So that's what happened. It's quite, they did a lot of just dubious and honestly blatantly illegal things and got away with it.
Right. So what we can really, see here, as you've described, is that there are these requirements to look at this issue. It's a known risk. And we know that the FDA knows about this. And we know that Pfizer and Moderna know about this, because if we look in their protocols, right, we see that they're actually taking steps to prevent against this, but they did not do the required clinical studies. And in fact, I'll tell you, this is one of the most astounding things that I've discovered about these so-called gene therapy-based vaccines, is that they're all supposed to make the vaccinated produce, right, by this recombinant genetic technology, the spike protein in one form or another. But none of these companies, before they put their products on the market, even tested anyone to see if there's actually spike protein in people they gave the vaccine to. There's only one study available that even looks at this at all, and it was done by independent researchers in Canada months after these products were on the market, and it only looks at about a dozen people. And it is not very conclusive. But it's just astonishing that we don't even know if people getting these products actually make the spike protein.
Well, I have just a break. I have a study, an autopsy report that shows that there is spike protein throughout the different systems and organs of a person who died from being vaccinated. So I think there's probably evidence we need to continue to look at to prove that. My strong inclination, is that they are producing spike protein that is harmful and potentially deadly to people.
Great. And we'll be back after the break. I'm your guest host, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, here in this fourth hour with my special guest, Karen Kingston, a pharmaceutical and medical device industry insider and consultant. Karen, I thought for this segment, we could review some of the clinical trial data for the vaccines, because you have some unique insights about some trickery and playing with numbers here that suggests they're far less effective than they're touted to be.
Sure, if you want to pull up the slides for people to see them.
Sure. If we could have slide 11, please.
I think are you starting with the IND? So in the IND.
Well, why don't you just tell the viewers what an IND is so they understand.
So in the initial, so normally you would finish preclinical trials and show safety and efficacy in animals, which they skipped most of and signed letters of intent, and then you file an initial new drug application with your preclinical data, and you map out what you're going to be doing for your phase 1 and two trials, and phase 3 and the safety and efficacy endpoints. And phase 1 typically includes healthy patients, but this is the phase 3 endpoints. So in the IND, what they talked about was that they would have 44,000 patients enrolled or subjects enrolled for the phase 3 trial. 22,000 would be injected, 22,000 would be placebo, would get saline, and they assumed a 1.6% infection rate over a period of 6 months, which would give them about 165 to 169 infected people in the placebo group. And I believe if they got 10 or less in the vaccine group, then that would give them a 95% confidence interval of reducing your risk of getting infected by 1% over 6 months. So it's not very effective in and of itself. But what's very odd is that their primary outcome, they had 169 patients who tested positive via the PCR test 1 week after the second injection. These people were not injected in the placebo group, and only 9 in the injection group 1 week after the second injection. And what they concluded was that, hey, this is 95% effective in reducing your risk of getting COVID-19 by 1% for 1 week after the second injection from the Pfizer group. So it's bogus data. And then if you go on to the next slide, you'll see at that same 1 week time point, if you want to pull it up, there was it's the one before that. There's another slide. I don't know why it's not here. In the placebo group, there was something like 289 people that presented with symptoms at the 1 week mark. And there was, I believe, 407 in the treatment group. And so what that showed was they were presenting at the same time point with COVID-19 symptoms. But gosh darn it, they didn't have enough time to test those people, even though more people were presenting with symptoms in the treatment placebo group. I'm not sure why that's not up, but that's in the phase 3 trial, the FDA trial. It's in this document here.
So what you're saying here is that they kind of picked which time points they looked at after administering the vaccines to make sure that they could show that there were fewer cases. Is that
worse than that? It's worse than that. At 1 week, they decided to run the PCR test instead of waiting 2 weeks. So if you look at the CDC website, it says you don't produce monoclonal antibodies until 2 weeks after the second dose, okay? They tested at 1 week because too many people were getting sick in the treatment group. But worse than that, they had more people in the treatment group presenting with COVID-19 symptoms than in the placebo group. But they decided they ran out of time to test the people in the placebo group, or sort of test the people in the treatment group. So they just tested the people in the placebo group and said, hey, look, more people are getting sick in the placebo group. So it's horrible what they did. Does that make sense? Sorry.
So they just neglected to do the testing?
Yes, they just neglected to test people that presented with symptoms in the treatment group. They only tested 9 of them. not all 400 of them that were sick.
Wow. So basically, they just omitted the data that would have showed that more people got sick from their vaccine than got sick from any natural cause.
Exactly.
And this is really not surprising to any of us who have been following the devastating side effects, mortality, and serious illness that has occurred in people who have been vaccinated. So essentially what we're saying here is that Pfizer knew about this up front and covered it up in order to make sure that their authorization went through. So how did they regulators at the FDA not pick up on these discrepancies?
They did. They ignored it. I don't understand On October 20th or 22nd of 2020, they had a meeting where they went over all of the serious adverse events that they needed to keep an eye out on for these vaccines prior to authorization. It included Guillain-Barré, it included inflammation of the brain, inflammation of the spine, it included myocarditis, pericarditis, thrombocytopenia, thrombosis. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. They knew these things were not only harmful, but potentially lethal. And they just ignored the fraudulent and erroneous analysis that was done on the data. They just chose to, turn a blind eye to it. There's an 8-hour recording. When they started asking questions about, can we go into more detail about how you measured these outcomes, they just said, nothing to see here, move on to the next page. It's recorded.
Wow. So what do you think could have been going, what's going on behind the scenes that they're just ignoring this? Are they feeling pressure, or are they, in cahoots with the pharmaceutical industry? I mean, we certainly know there is a revolving door between, various federal regulatory agencies and the industry. But, do you have a kind of theory on why they would just let this slide by and gloss over it the way that they did?
No, I've never seen anything like this in my entire career, and just historical review of any over-the-counter or pharmaceutical or medical device therapy. When Posicor came out, a few people got pacemakers and they recalled it. Rezulin was recalled for liver function tests increase. There's all these different recalls. Many drugs don't get. You need 2-year safety data to put a stent in your eye, and before you can roll it out to thousands of people. And now we've injected over 150 million Americans. I think it's 164 or more, 168 now. So there's no explanation from a person with a sound mind and conscience to explain how this happened.
So, I think that kind of leaves us to speculate that there is some outside influence here that is very, very strong. And I know, in the medical service delivery side of the equation, like, for example, in hospitals. Now, I've talked with doctors who have, tried to speak out a little bit about what's going on, like, for example, saying that their hospitals are empty. What happens is that the administrators of the hospital, send them, give them a stern talking to, because, as has been reported, there are all kinds of financial incentives for the hospitals. They get paid more based on diagnosis, using certain procedures like ventilators, right? So there could be very similar types of bribery or reimbursement schemes going on here. But, it shows that there is the ability of whoever is running the show to not just influence one person here or there, but systematically to take over not only the industry, the private corporations in the industry, but the government agencies involved, to essentially turn a blind eye and let the corporate interests reign supreme with respect to all products COVID.
Yeah, to your point, there's definitely some monetary incentives for all parties involved here. There's no question about that. But even being silenced, if you speak out, if people speak out, whether they're scientists or physicians, or if they were on the FDA, they were going to be ostracized, mocked, ridiculed, and kicked out of the industry. So there's that aspect too, that, of being shamed and ridiculed on top of, not being able to financially make an income. So there's a lot of terrible influences that are going on that, unfortunately, people, instead of doing what was right and in good conscience, they did what was, the easiest thing for them to do.
Fantastic. Well, Karen, I really so much appreciate you taking the time to enlighten us about these aspects and giving us this insider perspective. Your bravery and courage really makes you stand out. And we'll be back on the Alex Jones Show again after the break. Looking forward to seeing you then.
But if people go to mypillow.com, here are the actual documents, okay? So here's Joe Rogan blasts racist vaccine passports, because the majority of folks not taking it are black, and exposes breakthrough cases. COVID-19 vaccines could add fuel to evolution of coronavirus mutations. NPR, and that's from months ago. And it's everything Joe said and more. They're not even hiding this. Okay? Joe's vindicated right there. More polio cases now caused by vaccine than by wild virus, Associated Press says the Bill and Melinda Gates vaccine caused massive polio outbreaks worldwide. Okay, boom. It goes in the body, it mutates, and then it goes even more deadly. UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan caused by oral vaccine. ABC News. Okay, here's the UN report right here. Immunization Agenda 2030 from a global strategy to leave no one behind from the UN. And it admits right here, vaccine-delivered polio viruses are the majority of the illnesses worldwide. It's all right here, right there. Vaccine-delivered polio outbreaks. There it is, okay? That's the damn report. Lancet, one of the most prestigious in the world. SARS-CoV-2 evolution and vaccines cause for concern. And it says, yes, they're the main cause, and they predicted this would happen. And so let's get into it right now. Joe came out on Thursday and did a big hit podcast where he simply reported the scientific facts. We'll play a clip in a moment. That the majority of people around the world getting sick have been inoculated. That's in the mainstream news, not debated. Hell, it's 95% of those in Israel, 99% in Australia, 90+% in places like Gibraltar, and the list goes on and on, Iceland. And he said, look at this study that shows that you can have people that have been inoculated with a vaccine that then slough a more deadly virus. And the media didn't attack what Joe said. I noticed they created straw men off of something else and said he was wrong. But I want to play the clip, and then I want to show you just a small snapshot. This is a small snapshot. I've got like 50 articles. I'm going to show you 10. From prestigious organizations saying exactly what Joe said, but the system knows what he said's true. They are simply hoping you don't look at the information. So here's what he had to say a few days ago on his podcast.
Vaccination can enhance the transmission of highly virulent pathogens.
Right.
So this is a scientific paper from 2015 that shows that this is what an important quote: vaccines that keep the host alive but still allow transmission can thus allow virulent strains to circulate in a population. So vaccines that don't kill the virus, vaccines that allow people, like this is one of the things we're finding out about what they're calling breakthrough cases.
Right.
So people who are vaccinated can still get COVID and they can still transmit COVID.
Mm-hmm.
This recently happened at the Comedy Store. A vaccinated comedian gave COVID to like 12 different fucking people at the Comedy Store. Some of them vaccinated, some of them not. That situation where the vaccine just kind of protects you from serious damage,
right?
But it protects you from really being like badly hospitalized or death, but doesn't stop you from getting the virus, can possibly lead to more potent viruses. So these people that are saying, oh, it's these unvaccinated people that are responsible for the variants. Well, there's actually scientific papers that point to the very sort of environment that we're creating by having so many people vaccinated with a vaccine that doesn't kill off the virus. It actually can lead to more potent viruses. Try finding that story anywhere. Other than doctors, I'm getting PhDs sending me these things. Guys who won't speak about it publicly because they're worried about the blowback. People who are physicians, people who are even epidemiologists, even people that deal with diseases and viruses, they're concerned. And they don't want to talk about it publicly because people call them anti-vaxxers.
Oh, yeah.
It's really wild out there.
Oh, it's wild.
So Joe's really good at going along with their language, but getting this stuff front and center and encountering the lies. Now, you notice he said the part about, well, you take the shot, it protects you from really serious illness. He's even going along with that current BS. In a month, he'll be exposing it, I would imagine. He didn't tell me that. I can just see the train of thought here. But it just doesn't. The evidence shows it makes it worse. The most people in hospital have taken the shot. Most of the folks dying have taken the shot. That's a Fauci lie that it doesn't work, but it keeps you from getting really sick. That doesn't matter. Here are the actual documents, okay? So here's Joe Rogan blasts racist vaccine passports, because the majority of folks not taking it are black, and exposes breakthrough cases. COVID-19 vaccines could add fuel to evolution of coronavirus mutations. NPR, and that's from months ago. And it's everything Joe said and more. They're not even hiding this. Okay? Joe's vindicated right there. More polio cases now caused by vaccine than by wild virus, Associated Press says the Bill and Melinda Gates vaccine caused massive polio outbreaks worldwide. Okay? Boom. It goes in the body, it mutates, and then it becomes even more deadly. UN says new polio outbreak in Sudan caused by oral vaccine. ABC News. Okay? Here's the UN report right here. Immunization Agenda 2030 from a global strategy to leave no one behind from the UN. And it admits right here, vaccine-delivered polio viruses are the majority of the illnesses worldwide. It's all right here, right there. Vaccine-delivered polio outbreaks. There it is. Okay? That's the damn report. Lancet, one of the most prestigious in the world. SARS-CoV-2 evolution and vaccines cause for concern. And it says, yes, they're the main cause. And they predicted this would happen. The secret ingredient for stronger vaccines. It's into all that from Gavi. Another big study. Bombshell. Nobel Prize winner reveals COVID vaccines creating variants. Predicted that back in May. And now it's all happened. Vaccinated people with breakthrough infections can spread the Delta variant, CDC says, NPR. I mean, let's just get this out in the open. They're not even hiding it. They give you the fine print. They admit it's all going on, and then they go, oh, but it's not true when you actually point out the fine print. COVID-19 vaccines could add fuel to evolution of coronavirus, NPR. So Joe Rogan's right. Stick it up your globalist ass. We're going to come back. Joe's courage can be contagious. That's how we beat the New World Order. It's saying, I'm done with you people. Just like the main medical union in Germany just came out and said the vaccines are killing 30 to 40% of the people in Germany. Stay with us. But I'll tell you who's got 5-star ratings.
and our like around the world are going to go down in history as the people that brought freedom back from the brink just as the light was going out. This is not a time for us to hide. It's a time to stiffen the backbone and to reach a point of mental strength where we will not capitulate an inch to these people. This is a time, my friends, my beautiful, beautiful friends, when we no longer think of consequences for doing what we know to be right. We just do it. In the months and the 2-3 years ahead, they are going to invoke an onslaught upon us, an onslaught upon those who are awakening, those who can see. And they are going to try to destroy us and destroy our spirit by making it impossible, they think, to work, to do anything that we call human life. And they are going to invoke, as foot soldiers, the fast asleep, to demonize us incessantly with the brain dead media and the demonic social media internet giants. But we must not bow. We must not capitulate. All over the world, the awakened ones, the ones who can see, we come together now and we do not fail. We will not fail. If I promise you anything, I promise you this. We will get through this and we will have a special world full of special people on the other side. We are going to win this. And we will do it as one human family with one heart and one goal.
Well, first of all, among those who have seen it and can see it, we have to move from seeing it to ceasing to cooperate with it. That's, I mean, you know, people say, Alex, that knowledge is power. It's not. The use of knowledge is power. Knowledge unused is knowledge not worth having. Are not meant to end. Mask mandates are not meant to end. Nearly all of what I do now is focused on encouraging the awakened not to concede, not to submit, you know, to the point where they go, look, we've done our best, but I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do the other unless I do what they say and get the jab or whatever. But the point I would strongly make to people is that the consequences of submission are infinitely more sinister and nightmarish than the consequences of ceasing to cooperate and refusing to submit.
All right, we've got him for a commercial-free interview in the next hour. The iconic David Icke is with us, and I was just talking to him before we started taping, and he said it's time to unify humanity. The enemy is about to throw everything they've got at us. So I said, hey, please stop, David, repeat all that to the audience out there about this historic time we're in, where everything he's talked about and I've talked about is coming out in the open. World government, world ID, forced inoculations, emergency detainment camps, helicopters and drones flying around saying you can't be at the park, Clydesdale horses running over women. I mean, this is 1984, and it's just going to get worse until, as he says, humanity get off your knees. David Icke, best-selling author, researcher, thank you so much for coming on, and please lay out where you see the world today.
Always a pleasure, Alex. Well, I've been doing this now for 31 years, and you go through all the names, dates, places, information, absolutely vital that people know that. And I still do that. And I've gone through many other areas of this whole conspiracy. But, the more that I have looked at it, the more it breaks down into a very simple situation. And basically, it's a tussle, well, more than a tussle, between two basic states of consciousness. Obviously, there's differences between them, and there's different mixtures between them. But basically, it's two states of consciousness. And I started scanning the ancient world, and I looked at the religions and what they say, and the cultures that are not strictly religious, and you see an amazing common theme. And that is of a state of consciousness manifesting, personified in groups, secret societies, individuals, etc. That is seeking to manipulate and enslave humanity from the shadows. And so if you look at what Christians believe, they talk about the devil, Satan, and they talk about the demons. Then you look at the Gnostic belief system, which is not mainstream Christian, and they call the devil Yod-Baoth, and they call the demons archons, which is a Greek word meaning rulers. Then you look at what the Islamic faith says about the manipulations of the jinn from the unseen. And then I came across more recently, and I talked about this in a new book, Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, which the last chapter of it is called Escaping Wetiko. I'll explain why in a sec. And I think that's one of the most important chapters I've ever written in any book. Why Wetiko? Because the Cree tribal people in America have the concept of what they call Wetiko. And what is Wetiko? Wetiko is the Cree version of this manipulative force. They describe it as an inverted, chaotic, distorted state of consciousness that's seeking to impose itself upon the target population and change the perceptions and therefore the actions. Where does behavior come from? It comes from perception of the population. And because this Wetiko, as I will call it, operates in a narrow band and a very dense low band of frequency, which relates to low vibrational human emotion, fear, anxiety, depression, all these things. If they can pull the population into those low states of being, of perception, through not least fear, which is its greatest weapon, then they can connect frequency-wise to the population, and they can feed perceptions that people have. They can, for instance, shut off the critical thinking processes. It's like firewalling, and so you've got the super Wetikos, who are the full-blown psychopaths. And when you look at the traits of Wetiko, and under other names in different cultures and religions, you're looking at the psychopaths running this COVID hoax, and indeed running this whole global conspiracy. You're looking at your Gateses and your Faucis and your Klaus Schwabs and all these other people. You're looking at your Rockefellers and your Rothschilds. These are super psychopaths. And if you look at the traits of psychopaths through what they call the Hare test, named after the guy that came up with them, and if you've got enough of these traits, you are officially a psychopath. Well, the top two are lack of empathy and lack of compassion. So you have a situation where these people have, because of their lack of empathy and lack of compassion, have no emotional consequence, no matter what they do. So people will look at your Faucis and your Gateses and all these other people, and they'll say in the COVID era, no, that can't be true. They would never do that. No, mate. You would never do that. But they would do it, and not only that, get off on it. So it's classic Wetiko personified through these people.
And David, let me just interject one quick question, because I was thinking of Fauci before you said his name. I've been watching him in these TV pieces he's doing for TikTok for children, not just over 12, but below that, getting them ready for this deadly GMO injection. And he's smiling and laughing and looks like a vampire out of a movie. Just so revolting to anybody that's awake looking at him, like a Brian Stelter or this woman, this former head of Planned Parenthood, that's saying we can't trust the public. People can't have food or leave their houses unless they take the shots. I mean, these are villains out of a Hollywood movie, and they're just gleeful. So you say they don't care, but actually you go deeper into this, they actually enjoy hurting people. It's not just they don't care.
Yeah, no, of course. That's the point I've just made. Not only don't they care how they treat people, they get off on it. And they get off on it because of who they are. I mean, psychopaths get off and get enjoyment from control of other people. And the more that other people suffer and fear them, the more they get off on it. So I talk about these people in the Trafalgar Square the speech I made a week or so ago. I'm openly calling these people demons now, because that's what they are. They're beyond psychopaths. They're demons. They're in the biblical sense of demons. So you've got this Wetiko, which is demonic. What the Cree called Wetiko, which is demonic. And these people are its expressions. They are its physical expressions. This global cult that I talk about, this network of secret societies with a central dictating mission control operating the global agenda. That's why it plays out globally. This cult is Wetiko made manifest. And the traits of this Wetiko come out in things like Satanism. You see, what this Wetiko is, it's an inversion of life. I refer to evil as the absence of love, and evil is the word live written backwards. It's anti-life. It's an inversion. And because it's an inversion, everything that it manifests in human society is an inversion. So, for instance, in the name of protecting health, this COVID era has frickin' destroyed it. And in the name of protecting health, these fake jabs are destroying it on a scale when we go through the next months and 2 years is going to be absolutely catastrophic and monumental. So everything's an inversion. So if you look at Satanism, for instance, which is an expression of Wetiko, then you look at their symbolism, it's all inversion. They invert the cross, they invert the pentagram, they invert their symbols, because the whole thing is an inversion of life. This is why they're so obsessed with death. And they do their rituals in churchyards and stuff. They are obsessed with death, which is an inversion of life. This is what's behind it. But then if you come down, they're the super psychopaths. They're the ones that absolutely colossally Wetiko made manifest. Your Gateses and your Swabs and all these other people. But then you come down one. Another trait of psychopaths, Wetiko, is that you lie as much as it's necessary to lie to get what you want. So now we're looking at the mainstream media and Silicon Valley. I mean, we both know, going way back, I mean, I worked in the media, that the media bloody lies and it distorts. But I've never seen the global scale of coordinated script reading distortion and lies that have come from the global media that we've had in the last 18 months.
In fact, you coined the term, I remember, like 20 years ago, repeaters. Explain, you used to have the top BBC show, how talking points would go out, but still you could have your own view. But in the last 10 years or so, it's completely, you get scripts and then they just repeat them. And then big tech censors everybody else challenging when they say the sky is red, it's really blue. You say it's blue, which it is. You get banned off big tech, you get silenced. And then they're allowed to just constantly gaslight and say 99% of the deaths didn't have the vaccine. Then it turns out 90+% did have the vaccine. Everything they say, as you said, is a total inversion because they're not creative. All they can do is invert.
Yeah, but the global cult is like a spider's web. And each strand of the spider is either an exclusive secret society right in the shadows next to the spider, or it's a secret society that we've heard of, or it's the cusp organizations like the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, etc., Club of Rome, the environment manipulators. And then you come out into the mainstream of society, and it's this web which has a central dictating mission control, like I say, that actually is the underpinning coordinating force between all these apparent, on the face of it, completely unconnected organizations, people, and organizations and businesses, etc. So the bank appears not to be connected to Silicon Valley, but if you go into the web level, they're fundamentally controlled by the web, therefore the same people. And so you have this connection in the COVID era that is so blatant, where the World Health Organization, which is completely controlled by the cult, it's a cult front. It was created by the Rockefellers, among others, as part of the UN, which is another cult organization. And then you've got Silicon Valley, and they're all cult organizations. Your Facebooks, and Zuckerberg is running Facebook. That's hilarious. And it's the cults running these things. So what you get through this coordination is the understanding of apparent mysteries and contradictions, because you think, why did Silicon Valley come out and say really early on that they're going to censor anyone challenging the World Health Organization version of the COVID hoax? Because, well, why would they do that? Well, on the face of it, would you do that? You do that if the cult owns the World Health Organization and it owns the Silicon Valley corporations. And going on from that to what I was saying a few minutes ago, it owns the global media. This cult owns the global media. And it's at this level of this web.
And by the way, Dave, let me just stop you again, because you're dead on here. You started saying 25 years ago, there'll be a moment of a merger. There'll be a global awakening by 2016 of populism. You said this hundreds of times, probably 10 times on my show. You said by 2016, I see the lines converging at a global pushback by free humanity, a big awakening, which happened. Then that gets co-opted. You said the big battle starts around 2020 or so, just from all your studying. That's now happened. They're striking back with everything you've got, but it is a revolving door from big pharma, big tech, big media, big banks, big academia, all the same people. And I always, from my study, saw the Rockefeller, the Carnegie Endowment, and others, and the Cecil Rhodes groups, which you're an expert on, right at the center of this. And now they've kind of removed Gates as the front man, and we see the Rockefeller Foundation is now officially in control of UN, WHO, IMF, World Bank, and U.S. European policy on the, quote, virus rollout. So it looks like they've gone from beta into operational with this COVID. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, Gates was always a front man. I mean, is there life on Bill Gates? I see no evidence. He was a front man, just like Zuckerberg. Ditto, is there life on Mark Zuckerberg? I see no evidence. But it's the people in the shadows that are calling the shots. But if we go to the global media, and we're related to this Wetiko, what is the global media doing? It's lying by the hour, actually by the minute, to advance the agenda of the psychopaths that are Wetiko. And what is another trait of psychopaths in the hair test? What I said earlier, the ability to lie and as outrageously as necessary to get what you want. So the whole global media has been Wetiko'd. So there is no kind of sense of decency and genuineness about the global media. They literally are just clones that are turning out a narrative that most of them, not all of them, because there's some real thick people in the media, as you well know, but most of them, great numbers of them, will absolutely know that they're lying. And then just to finish this point of Wetiko, you then come down to the general population, and people who have awakened, I say awakened from Wetiko, the Wetiko coma. They are putting their hands on their head and they're saying, why can't these people see it? Look at the evidence. Why can't they see it? But, if you firewall a computer, it's not going to see parts of the internet because it's not going to process that information. And we're seeing this clear, obvious division between those simply have lost, if they ever had it, the ability to process information into a conclusion. So what an awakening person does is they take information and they process that information into a conclusion, which is unique to them most of the time. The asleep, rather, the ones in the COVID coma, they don't have that ability. What they do is they take not only the information, but the information becomes an opinion. So they're not processing the information into a conclusion. The information is their opinion.
And that's key. They take it on and it becomes their identity. And then when you attack the lie, they see it as you're attacking them.
Yeah, because you know, we all know, everybody watching this interview will know of and had the experience of people saying, I tell you what my opinion is of what's going on. And then what comes out of their mouth is basically the official narrative, word for word, because it's not their opinion. They've taken their opinion and they repeat what their opinion has been told to be. So, you know, if you what this Wetiko seeks to do, I have looked at this in great detail. Not only, you know, the name Wetiko, but long before in other different names around the world for the same state of consciousness. And what it seeks to do is isolate people in the five senses, isolate people in the five senses and the subconscious levels immediately around the five senses, but basically to put them in a five-sense bubble. And from that perspective, people say, can I see it, touch it, taste it?
And again, you've been saying that for 30 years, and now they admit in their own documents at Facebook, they want you alone with bots that you interact with, no human connection. And what a diabolical, evil plan that they admit they're doing. How do we get people out of the bubble? How do we get them out of the trance? And how do we explain to some of the mercenaries that work for the system that they're destroying their own future by going along with this?
Well, this is what I'm coming to. You know, if you firewall a computer, use the same analogy again, then it's not going to process the information you firewalled it from. And these people are so programmed, so manipulated in their perceptual state, so isolated in the five senses that they are not going to see it until they expand their awareness beyond the five senses. And all the pressure is not to do that. So what happens is when you start to open your mind and let consciousness in, more expanded consciousness, not someone in a spaceship, your own consciousness, which the five sense bubble is shutting out, then you start to see things. You see, look at what the five senses do, Alex. They see the world as everything apart from everything else. That's how they decode reality. And so the five senses alone are never going to connect dots. They're only going to see dots. They're not going to see patterns and pictures and how it all fits together. It's expanded consciousness beyond the five senses that does that. And so if you can keep people in the five senses, they will see a world of random events and random happenings. They'll be completely confused. They won't be able to understand anything that's going on. So their guide to what's going on will be the official pronouncements from government and health.
And that's
officials.
a great example of how the media will say a cop did something wrong, burn down your own neighborhood. And then people wonder why they don't have shops a year later and why they don't have jobs anymore. They're not putting two and two together. They're not playing even checkers, much less chess. And you're right. The average person in the trance literally sees a highway and cars and sees each car as separate, not as a huge human system. And they are blind to that. But as you open up your consciousness, the discernment can get so intense. I think that's one reason some people choose to go into a trance or choose the matrix because the reality is too intense.
Yeah, but the other thing about this whole situation with Wetiko and having your consciousness, because what Wetiko seeks to do is to isolate the five senses from expanded awareness, because then it's gotcha. Because if you can isolate the five senses, then it can feed the five senses with a version of reality, which the five senses just take on because it's got no other
And then it can
source.
fully capture you.
Yeah, and then they got you. They got you. They got you. You're basically a possessed mind. You're a computer terminal on their internet. That's what you are. And so that is controlling the way that massive numbers of the population are perceiving reality. And you see this in various ways. First of all, the inability to see the obvious. which the awakened can see, and they go, why can't they see it? That's why they can't see it. Why would a Wetiko attached mind be allowed to process information and see that the Wetiko agenda is real, the cult agenda is real? But the other thing is this, well, of course you've noticed it, everyone's noticed it, that when you push back on this this COVID narrative, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's so stupid. That's why
it's
they have
beyond
to.
Swiss cheese. It's beyond Swiss cheese.
That's why they have to go in for this mass censorship. It's not because we're powerful, we're going to censor. They have to censor because their narrative's so ludicrous. If they didn't,
that was my next question. Let's talk about the big rallies, millions of people around the world. Let's talk about how do we get people out of this mindset, because you predicted, as there would be a global awakening, there would be a move to oppress us and literally control our five senses. That is literally their entire operation. They're desperately trying it. You've said now is the crossroads. Now is the time to stand up. Speak to some of that for folks. And then tell the world, please, in your clear vision, where we're going if we don't say no. Because I think now it's clear we're already there. 1984 on steroids.
Yeah, if I could I'll come to that. I'll just finish this point about this Wetiko mind. If you've noticed that when you push back, maybe a family member, maybe it's one family member in a family, and they've all bought the COVID, narrative, and one doesn't. I saw a doctor telling this very story the other day about his experience. They don't just say, "I don't agree with you." I mean, family members, they don't just say to you, "Well, I don't agree with you." They cut you off. They ostracize you. They ignore you. They demonize you. This doctor said, I started talking out about, the lies that were being told, and my family cut me off. Right. So that's not rational. It's not rational, and it's not the kind of thing that would happen very much before the COVID era. So why is that? Because if you have a Wetiko controlled mind, then you are going to be encouraged to demonize those that are pushing back on what is the Wetiko agenda, although they don't know that.
And I've also noticed the worse it gets for the people captured by the spider or the Wetiko program, the more they double down and the more they hate those of us that aren't in that spirit, and they want to destroy us, I guess, because they're slowly becoming that entity.
Yeah, exactly. It is absolutely a case of assimilation. And the more you fall into these Wetiko frequencies, the more power it has over you. And so what you're going to see, of course you're going to see, you're already going to see it, is that the asleep, what I say of being Wetikoed, they are going to en masse be used as foot soldiers to attack those who are awakened.
That's right. A giant army is being prepared.
Yeah. And what does awakening mean? It means you awaken from the Wetiko frequencies. You awaken from the five senses. And at that point, you start to see pictures and patterns and connections, and not just unconnected random dots. So this is the whole point, going on to the point you just made, is that those of us, and the number is growing, and it's far bigger than people realize. For every, hundreds of thousands now walk through the streets marching in protest and in favor of freedom through the streets of London. And for every one of those people, there's a lot more who couldn't make it to the march but think the same. So this is happening. It really is. But with that gift of seeing comes responsibility. Simple question: who's going to push back on this, and who's going to bring it down, and who's going to stop it happening? Well, the psychopaths aren't. They're making it happen. The government administration people and the health administration people who've been through, I explained this in Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, a massive, decades-long reframing, that's what they call it, reframing mind program, perception programming. So they'll be the unquestioning, yes sir, no sir, administrators of the psychopathic agenda. And the people who are fast asleep and attacking everyone who's not, they're not going to do it.
So how do we counter it? How do we stop it? Because clearly this has already gone off the edge. They're operational now. Where do you want to tackle that? Where we're going if we don't stop it? How you think the battle's going? What you think we should do? Just all of the insanity that's taking place?
Well, first of all, among those who have seen it and can see it, we have to move from seeing it to ceasing to cooperate with it. People say, Alex, that knowledge is power. It's not. The use of knowledge is power. Knowledge unused is knowledge not worth having. So it's not just about seeing it and then, oh no, I told you that what happened, didn't I? I told you this was coming next. Well, okay, well done. But what are you going to do about it? And the whole point of what you've been doing and I've been doing all these years is to alert enough people so there is an intervention to stop it happening, not to be proved right. Oh yeah, he was right. He's right.
Exactly.
Well, actually, you don't want to be proved right because you don't want it to happen. But to do that, you have to have an intervention. And now we're at this point. I mean, talk about a crossroads or a fork in the road, where if we do go on being spectators, even seeing spectators, never mind asleep spectators, then we are going to live in a global fascist dictatorship that would make George Orwell wince. And, what is this AI when you think about it? This connecting AI to the human brain and the human body, it's taking over the human perceptual processes so that they are forever enslaved in the five senses. So there is no connection to greater consciousness. You completely isolate them using AI. And this is the end game. All along, like I said, it's been a case of the foundation of the conspiracy is isolating the five senses from expanded states of awareness. And AI is going to give you the end game. But, I've always been confident that this is going to end. And we're going to a bit of esoteric stuff here, but this is my fix on where we're going. First of all, the next 2 to 3 years are going to be brutal, because this Wetiko, in all its expressions, and your Schwabs and all these other people, your Rockefellers, are going to throw everything at us, and they're going to use the asleep to do it. And this is why, nearly all of what I do now is focused on encouraging the awakened not to concede, not to submit, to the point where they go, look, we've done our best, but I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do the other unless I do what they say and get the jab or whatever. But the point I would strongly make to people is that the consequences of submission are infinitely more sinister and nightmarish than the consequences of ceasing to cooperate and refusing to submit. I look at Trump supporters. Apparently 74 million voted for Trump at the last election. And the overwhelming number of those 74 million, if not in virtually all of them, will be pushbackers that won't want what's happening to happen. That's why they went down the road they did.
But instead, Trump is not pushing back. That's the big thing. He could lead us out of this nightmare right now by saying, I was wrong. They conned me. The vaccine doesn't work. It's a fraud. But instead, he's tied to it. But I want you to finish your point. But that's key right there. And I'm guessing where you're going with this. That's my extreme frustration with Trump, is that where is he? What is he doing?
Yeah, well, in Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, I use the phrase save me syndrome. And I think, when we're looking at 74 million people, and I have enormous respect for those people. I'm not knocking them. I have enormous respect for them. And what I don't want is for them to be led to glorious failure. I want them to reach glorious victory in all this. That's what I want. And, if we go on giving out, it don't matter what the individual is. I don't care if it's Trump or anybody. But if we go on looking for a savior, when the savior is looking back at us from the mirror, then we're going to be all the time giving our power. I mean, QAnon, trust the plan.
Listen, I just wrote it on my page. I just wrote Q right here. I was about to ask you, Q. You and I got criticized a lot a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, right before this, 8 months ago, warning that this was a disinfo op to the save me syndrome. So we're not spiking the football here. How did David Icke smell that was a fraud from day one, an intelligence operation?
Well, because I've been doing this for 31 years. When QAnon came up with the, trust the plan, and the good guys are going to arrest the bad guys and all this is going on, I thought, well, bloody deja vu or what? I've come across over the last 31 years about 2 or 3 other organizations that just appeared and basically said the same thing. I mean, some of them, I went into one in one of my books in detail because they had people giving the dates that they were going to arrest the bad guys. And I'm thinking, well, why are you telling them? Just do it. But of course, they weren't going to do it. And the dates passed and the dates passed.
And of course, the Soviets did that to round up their opposition in the 1920s, the Bolsheviks, with Operation Trust, which was the even same terms that Q used were the exact same thing the Bolsheviks used.
Yeah, I mean, it's straight off the script of the ages. So, I mean, going back to the 74 million, what if the 74 million didn't look to Trump or someone else to save them, but ceased to cooperate with their own enslaved?
It'd be over for the globalist.
You imagine how what a spanner that would throw into the works. No, I'm not shutting the business. No, I'm not wearing a mask. No, I'm not. There's 74 million people. I mean, you would throw a big spanner in the works. And
notice what you said and I said last year. They're never going to really bring the lockdowns away. They call it Freedom Day, which is the opposite of Freedom Day, is a world ID card, medical ID. I mean, and they're pushing like there's a gun to their head, all lockstep, all the nations of the world, Rockefeller Foundation running it, the groups behind the Rockefeller Foundation running that. Why are they so desperate to get this injection in the arm? And from your deep research, what is it really doing? Because now they admit almost everybody dying are the folks that took it. It's making people super sick. It's getting rid of their immune system. As you said, whatever the virus was or wasn't or does exist or didn't exist, what is the whole project to get this GMO thing in people's arms?
Yeah, well, I have this phrase, know the outcome and you'll see the journey. And if you don't know the outcome, then the daily journey can seem like random events. But when you know the outcome, the daily events become stepping stones to the outcome quite clearly. So as you said, lockdowns are not meant to end. Mask mandates are not meant to end because the idea is complete control and the destruction of all independent business and employment to make the population dependent on the state and make that all commerce and everything controlled by giant corporations owned by the cult. So if anyone thinks, well, just a little bit more and we'll just conform a little bit more and then maybe it will be all right, because we're coming out of the COVID. No, we're not. We're going into the next extreme level of it, because this is the situation, Alex, I would say, is that, of course, we've been talking for years about the mass depopulation agenda. There's 2 things going on here. Part of it is mass depopulation, just simply killing people through these fake jabs. And the other part is those that survive will have their genetics completely transformed. And so part of it is to kill people, and enormous numbers of people are going to die. Unfortunately, I don't like saying it, but they are. And on the other side, you've got this magnetic nanotechnology, self-replicating, which is designed to connect people into the smart grid, those who survive and those who go through this genetic transformation. So in this period, through the fall, as you call it in America, autumn here, and winter of 2021 into 2022 and through to 2023, enormous numbers of people, it's already started, mate, hasn't it? Of course it has, are going to die because of the fake vaccine. Now, what they're going to have to do is find other reasons to explain that.
And they've now, you said, they've started blaming the unvaccinated.
Well, that was absolutely predictable, because the unvaccinated or the unfake vaccinated are those that can see, those who are awake, and thus they're the only people that can bring this lockdown.
And you also noticed government people and higher ups, it turns out, are being given saline all over the world. So they've even been caught taking saline. They go, oh, it's a mistake.
Well, of course, that's going to happen. I mean, if you know what's in these fake vaccines, you're not going to have them, are you? That's why, on one level, you've got the censorship, so people don't know what's in them en masse. And then you've got the people in the upper echelons who absolutely know what's in them, and they're not going to have them. And I think that quite a few in the population have had saline as well, because I think, they don't want to kill everybody. But you are now going to face this. Yes, part of it is going to be they're going to say it's the unvaccinated that are causing this. But they've got to explain it away. So what they're doing at the moment, you'll see, is they're saying when they have to, that the vaccinated, the fake vaccinated, are ending up in hospital with COVID. oh, it's COVID. No, it's not. They are not in hospital with COVID. How do you know they've got COVID? Well, we tested them with a test not testing for it. Yes, that's how you know they've got COVID. They're in frickin' hospital because of the effect of the bloody vaccine.
And David, again, you got taken off YouTube a year ago. They said specifically for saying the PCR test was a fraud. They've now removed it and said it was 100% fraudulent. The whole basis of all of it, the whole foundational lie.
Yeah, and just to finish this point, I want to come back to that. You are going to see, you're probably going to almost certainly see the flu come back. Oh, flu's come back. Oh, and you're going to see the variants of the variant, which is more deadly and more transmissible. In other words, people are dying from COVID, from the fake vaccine. So we've got to have a reason that suits our agenda for why they're dying. Oh, it's COVID variants. Oh, and that, that means that the original COVID fake vaccines are not working on the variants because people are still dying, even though they've been vaccinated. So we need more vaccines for the variants, which are already sitting there waiting to go ahead. In September, starting September the 2nd in Britain, and of course the CDC are moving that direction in America and around the world, is happening as well. We're gonna have the vulnerable. This is old people and people with other conditions that they actually want rid of. They're going to have a third booster. Fake vaccines, so many are going to be taken out, and they're going to be calling it the cause is other things. This is what we're going to face, and it's going to be very important that those that are awake hold their backbone stiff and hold their resolve and don't go under, because if they do, then
it's a trap. The more you give in, the worse it gets. You've seen that. They said, oh, the vaccinated, you're going to be free. You don't have to wear a mask. And now they're like, no, actually, the vaccinated are spreading it. You're the worst. And so you've got to take more, because obviously they're a compliant group that the wolves are going to focus on because they've shown they're weak. But repeat what you said at your speech, or some of it last week. It was powerful. But also before we went on air today, you were explaining, Alex, this is the crossroads. People better get up. They better take action. That's my message. Because I was saying, hey, whatever you want to cover, what do you want to get into first? I just please reiterate that to folks that really respect what you're saying, that this is serious, and that we've all got to really, really put our will against this system.
Well, quite simply, if you have the fake jab, you're either accepted a death sentence, or your genetics are going to be transformed down the road of synthetic rather than biological. That's the whole point. And the more that people have these fake vaccines, like the variants and boosters, the more they are committing suicide and changing, if they survive, the nature of their body. And the other point about the vaccine passport, by the way, it's an absolute trap, because they're saying, well, you can go to this and you go to that and you go to the other, and the unvaccinated can't, if you've had the 2 jabs. Okay, fine. Okay, that's outrageous, but let look at that. Oh, and then if you haven't had the booster, you lose your vaccine passport. If you haven't had this new fake vaccine for this fake variant, then you have lost your vaccine passport, because once you're on that road of the vaccine passport, you're going to have to top up what they say you must have to keep the vaccine passport. This is the trap. And going back to that point you made earlier, I've been saying since the spring of 2020, there is no virus, and all these months later, I see no evidence that there's any virus. All the evidence I've seen is that not. And I see all the the diversions and get them to go here, get them to go there. I've seen no evidence that there is a virus. But we've reached the point where it doesn't really matter if there is or there isn't. The justification for whether there's virus or not virus, the justification of it is the jab. That's it. The bioweapon is the jab. And even if you accept that this virus exists, look at the figures. What they say is that the infection, quotes, to death rate of it is between, I've seen 0.23 to 0.15%. Now, what I would say to people is, okay, you accept that. Yeah, okay. And you think there's a virus. Yeah, okay. Now, take from the 0.23% and the 0.15%, whichever one you accept, all the fake cases with a test not testing for the virus. Take that away, and then take away all the people who have died. Bizarrely, it's the way they do it, within 28 days or more of a test not testing for the virus. And instead of what you've died from going on your death certificate, COVID-19 does. Take that away, because it's included in those figures. Take that away from the 0.23% and the 0.15%. What's left? Zero. And it's in our face that this is not what they
and by the
say
way, David, I really respect you, and basically everything you've ever said comes true. So I'm not denying that. So help me walk through this for others that ask me this on the street, on the show constantly. What are they doing at all these giant bioweapons labs around the world? Why was Fauci funding COVID research gain of function, then lying about it later? I checked the hospitals last year. They were totally empty all over. They were denying people real care. They were dying. We sent crew everywhere. People all over the world went and showed they were empty. And they had the staff of the hospitals dressed up, going in circles for photo ops. Then folks would show up an hour later and there'd be nobody there. And it'd be basically actors. So that was all proven. Now, I have family that work at hospitals. A lot of people have family that work here. They're now full of people dying, mainly who've taken the shot. I don't know if it's the shot is sloughing the prions or the proteins, but people are really ill. I've had family that never gets sick, that's been super sick. So now they're saying, oh no, though, that's not COVID. So obviously, whatever they put in the shot, and now Pfizer got laws passed in Germany that they're allowed to put biologicals off once they give you the shot. They admit that there is this shedding, that they've turned people into factories to then now disease people. But I don't think it's COVID. What do you think it is?
It's the fake vaccine. I mean, I always find that if you take a breath and take a step back and calmly look at it from a panoramic perspective.
No, I totally agree. Obviously, it is the vaccine. Almost all the deaths are people that are vaccinated. I understand. What I'm saying is it's contagious. It's attacking people's hearts and lungs that haven't taken it. Women that have sex with their boyfriend are losing their uteruses. It's the hospitals are full of people, young people having heart attacks because their mom got the shot. It's real. So exactly what you said last year about it won't be the so-called virus, it'll be the shot. I'm saying, what are they rolling out? How bad is it going to get? Because it's not just people that have taken the shot, it's people that are around them.
Well, like I say, if you look at it from a panoramic point of view, they are putting synthetic genetic nanotechnology material that is self-replicating into the body. And almost, if you've got half a brain cell on active duty, Alex, you don't really need to know much more. How does anyone think that's going to turn out? And you've got this obvious situation with shedding, which it may be shedding, or it may be simply people being affected by what that body is now broadcasting. Because this nanotechnology, this self-replicating nanotechnology, is broadcasting frequencies, and if you get close to them, you're going to be hit by those frequencies. I've heard doctors talk about the fact that people have come to her and said. And had the symptoms of having the vaccination when they've not had it, but they've been with people who've had it. And those symptoms kind of start reducing when they stay away from people that haven't had it. So there's obviously that is going on. This is, honestly, I cannot express enough. This is a turning point, a pivotal moment for everyone. And we have to choose what road we want to go down. And there's going to be some very, very, very hard choices, because if people are in partnership, you've just mentioned it, if people are in partnership with someone and they're having sexual relations with them, and one is fake vaccinated and one isn't, well, the other one who isn't, he's going to be fundamentally affected by the other one. I know relationships that have broken up on that. They've said, "Oh no, sorry, no more. I'm out of here because I'm not going to get what you've got." So we are being challenged on a massive scale, and we are seeing this division of society between the awakened and the fast asleep, and they are two very different societies. And it's so important that people form groups together, support groups, so that the fake or the non-fake vaccinated can interact and be picked up and encouraged and supported, and people in families that have ostracized them can have another family, the awakened family. It's happening in Britain. It's happening where I live on this Isle of Wight, just off the south coast of England. Those things are organically happening. But they need to happen much quicker, because the pushbackers or the not acceptors of the official narrative, it's going to be brutal in the attacks on us in the next.
I totally agree. In fact, get back into what we talked about before you went on air today. You were saying, Alex, the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to throw everything at us. You said, I want to talk about that. What do you expect them to throw at us on top of all of this?
Well, they're going to isolate us I mean, they're already talking about food and everything. They're going to isolate us from everything that is necessary to function, and we have to be ingenious in responding to that. What tends to happen? I've had this in my life anyway. That if you make a decision that you're not going to do something and you're not going to cooperate, there would seem to be consequences for that. Of doing that, but if you stick by it, things tend to happen where those consequences can be overcome.
Doors open.
Yeah, other doors open. Absolutely right. Because this is the point. I've made this point in talks and books over the years. If you have a series of doors, but you're only focused on one. And these doors are opportunities and other ways of living and other ways of doing things. But you're focused on this one, and you're banging it, and it doesn't open. And all these other doors are flying open, saying, over here, no, this one. And what happens when you face these kind of decisions where this door is closed and it's absolutely not going to open, which is what is going to be done big time to the non-fake jabbed, then these other opportunities start to appear, especially if you change your stance, change your energetic field,
and just open up to God, the universe. Exactly. And that's what I found in my life, is that when they do the worst stuff to me and I just turn it over to God and just relax and zen out, then the best stuff then happens right then, but you've got to step through those doors. And so that's why they think they're trying to build a system that's copying whatever I think the organic system is. I think that's what these archons, these creatures, I mean, obviously they want to play God or play what built this, because there's a real system out there. We know about dark matter. We know about, they now confirm that there's 5 times more energy holding our universe together than what is in this third dimension. But you think maybe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that's actually them that's creating the fake force 5 times stronger. Or can you elaborate on that?
Well, just after the turn of the millennium, I got intuitively so strongly that because a lot of the stuff comes to me through that means, because intuition is your connection to higher levels of awareness.
100%. I get it too. It gets more intense every day.
I got that we live in a fake reality, which is a simulation, and that the walls of the simulation are the speed of light. And back in May, I think it was, a Scientific American ran an article by some guy with letters after his name, saying that the evidence pointed to the fact that we live in a simulation and its outer limit is the speed of light. It's all these years later. And it is. The speed of light is not the fastest speed, it's pedestrian. But note that if any scientist comes out with claims that the speed of light is not the fastest speed of light, the roof comes down on them. Because the matrix operates within the speed of light, the electromagnetic spectrum, what we call light, electromagnetic light.
And you said that 25 years ago, and now the head of Bank of America believes it. All the major scientists now go, okay, there's something holding this together. But let's be clear, you don't believe we're a simulation. They've created a simulation to try to tie us down and control the inputs.
Yeah, basically, the simulation controls perception. And it gives a sense of limitation for a start. And this is the point that I would make. And I do have enormous evidence for this from personal experience.
Please speak on it. Speak on it.
beyond the walls of the simulation, the speed of light. And by the way, that's why things go very strange when you get to the when you get to the speed of light, things get very strange. Time changes, everything changes, because time actually is a manifestation of the simulation. There is the world beyond, or reality, infinity beyond the simulation is in a no time now. It's very difficult to get your head around that when you're perceiving time all the time, but it is a no time world where everything happens in the same now. But so when you get to the speed of light, everything starts to change. Why? Because you're reaching the edge of this simulation. You remember in the Truman Show when Jim Carrey's character eventually realizes that he's in a fake reality, and he finds the edge of the dome when he goes out. And he opens the door and he walks out. Well, that Truman Show set is symbolic of this simulation, and it controls your sense of perception. Now, the dots connect the more we speak. The way we interact with this simulation is through the five senses. They're decoding the simulation. So if they hold you in the five senses, like I said earlier, which is the whole foundation of what the cult's doing, then you are in the simulation and of the simulation. When you go into expanded states of awareness, you go beyond the walls of the speed of light, which is pedestrian, into expanded states of consciousness. Suddenly, you're no longer influenced totally by the information that you're receiving from the simulation. You've got other sources of information. And like I said earlier, I have enormous experience of this personally. You go beyond the simulation, and the world is just love. Beyond this, the world is love. Where do we go when we, quote, die? When I have this phrase: the body has a cycle, we have eternity. And the body cycle, the body connects us to the simulation. And when the body cycle is over, that which has been experiencing through the body, which is consciousness, the eternal part of us, leaves the simulation. And because the body is no longer processing information in a way that we call human, then suddenly the reality changes dramatically. I've read hundreds and hundreds of accounts of near-death experiences, and the common themes are fantastic. And you go into a world that's very different from this one, a world of love and joy and bliss. You don't meet many near-death experiences that want to come back, but they think, well, I've got to come back because there's still something to do. But
let me just share this with you. I've reached out to God and asked God to show me the truth. And I've had dreams in my life before that have 100% come true that are prescient. So I know that we're faster than light. We even go to the future and backwards because there is no time. As you said, it's all very, very Zen. But I've actually had those experiences where I know that I was at the next level past speed of light, and it was timeless, total satisfaction, total completion. And I could look into the past, the future, the present, anything I wanted to. And I could also look into the minds of other humans, entities, whatever they were, that had decided to build their own little tombs, their own little false worlds that they were contained in. And I could go into those and actually see what was going on. And I didn't want to spend any time there. And pretty amazing stuff. And that's what they're scared of. That's what they don't want us reaching out and touching, because then they can't control us. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that don't let's get fooled by the fact that this world, this reality, and what goes on in it currently, and through known human history, is how reality is in general. It's not. This is a really extreme place, because this Wetiko consciousness makes it an extreme place. It makes it a manifestation of itself. And because Wetiko is actually fear, that's what it is. It's that brought fear into the world. That's why it uses fear and gets people into states of fear, because there is then an attachment, a frequency attachment, because fear is going to attach to fear on the same frequency, and the possession could take place. And this is, I think, Alex, in a wider sense, this is so important that people realize, both those that have had the jab and the number that are going to take the consequences, and those that have not had the jab and are wondering whether they should resist or not, that, whatever happens, we are going to die. Thank God. Hands up who wants to stay here forever. You know what I mean? So, but it's only a case of when. And when we die, we go into realms of absolute love and bliss, and we would almost be unable to imagine it.
But is it possible interdimensionally to get attached to the Wetiko spirit and it takes you to a bad place? Because I've also seen that.
Yes, that is possible too. Yes, and you know, I think there are other levels of this simulation that are not, if you like, not the world that we see and interact with, but at other levels. Which,
in fact, wouldn't you say another level is trying to absorb this one or eat it?
Yeah, well, I've written about this in the books. You know, for me, what we call reincarnation is actually those that leave the body in a vibrational state that cannot get beyond the walls of the matrix, and they stay in it, but they stay at other levels of it, which are not the physical body level. There are other levels, other frequency levels of it, and then they reincarnate back into it. Because, you know, I looked at reincarnation and I thought, well, hold on a minute, you're asking me to believe that people choose to keep incarnating onto a planet which, compared with the projected size of the universe, is the equivalent of a billionth of a pinhead, and that you have to keep incarnating here to work your way to enlightenment to get out of it. Well, I mean, I don't buy that. Don't make sense. But what does make sense to me is that if you can't reach a vibrational level that takes you beyond the walls of the matrix, then you go to other levels of the matrix. And maybe this is the purgatory that some people talk about. And then you come back in, and you're in this cycle of incarnation and reincarnation, not from the great beyond into this, but from
well,
other
let me ask you
levels
this then. What are instincts and ancestral memories? Because I have those really intensely. I have a lot of smarts and instincts that I didn't learn but it's not the kind of stuff we hear of, like an ancient background that ancestors compressed their experiences and gave to me. I've got all sorts of instincts with technology and politics and life and things that I was never taught that I know that are advanced, that I wouldn't see on the timeline they claim this planet has been involved in.
Well, there's two things. You see, and this would bring us round to where I think this is going, and actually positively going ultimately. There are other levels of awareness beyond this one that are running an operation to bring this control system down. They're doing it through people here, which they have to, but there's a massive operation going on from higher levels of awareness that are saying enough, no more, gone too far. And they work through people. And, you know, there's a massive number of people who have come into this world. Some are obvious, some are less obvious. Coming into this world in this period to play a part in bringing an end to all this. And they are fed information. See, I went to a psychic in 1990, and simply because I found I had a presence around me throughout the year before, and it got stronger and stronger. And I wanted to see if she could pick it up, because I was, what the hell is going on? And what she told me in the March of 1990 is that I was going to go out on a world stage and reveal great secrets. That I was going to be led to knowledge, which is exactly what happened from the moment I left her front room. But also that knowledge would be put into my mind as well directly, and you just know things. You know things. So that's one level of it. But the other level, you talk about the ancestor. What is the human body? It's a hologram. What is a hologram? It's an energetic field, and it's an energetic field of information. So as that information, if you like, is passed on through what we perceive as generations in this world of fake time, you can have access in your information field to information knowledge that body has accumulated in its field. Not the body, because the body's buried, but the field. The field continues. So this is where the obsession comes from, Alex, with the cultists interbreeding, because they have a particular information field. It's a hybrid field And they want to, A, keep it from the population, and B, if they procreate with the general population, then that field, which is kind of unique to them, will be diluted and eventually disappear. So this is why they interbreed with each other and not with the general population overwhelmingly. I mean, the classic is royalty. Royalty interbreeds with itself because it's trying, this all blue bloods keep the genes. Well, it's actually about holding an information field, and this information field is part of their armory. It gives them abilities and information that's passed on. You look at the impact of these fake vaccines on magnetizing the body. They talk about graphene and these other elements that are used collectively to magnetize the body. We're seeing videos of that happening. Magnetize, electromagnetism. They're changing the electromagnetic field. And you must have come across this. I certainly have many times. The number of people that say to you that someone who's had the fake vaccine, they say they're not the same person. They're not the same person. They talk about them being vacant or whatever because something's happened.
I know a lot of people personally that took it, and they all look 10 to 20 years older. Yeah. You can see it with people like Michael Rappaport, who took it, and now he looks 30 years older. But on TV, like a month later, and they do. Yeah. They seem like there's not that spark anymore. They're more robotic, and also less. I would say even less argumentative. Very submissive.
Yeah. Well, one of the when I mentioned a few minutes ago, the word that's used to me a lot with people describing their partners or their workmates and what's happened to them is they suddenly become vacant. Rudolf Steiner, who had a lot of connections, and he was very esoterically advanced as well. He actually said 100 years ago that a vaccine was coming that would be given to children at birth, and it would disconnect what I would call their five sense mind from their soul, and they would become automatons. Now, if and we go back to what I said earlier, if you disconnect the five senses from the influence of what you might call soul or the greater consciousness, then you are basically creating an automaton, because the five senses are the computer level. The soul is the operator sitting at the computer, guiding the computer where it wants to go and all that stuff. But once let's use the word, you have a computer virus that takes over the computer operation, and you're tapping the keyboard and banging the mouse, but nothing's happening. The operator's now out of the game, i.e. soul. Then the computer goes where it wants, and it's completely isolated. And because comes an automaton, because the five senses are the point at which the incarnate consciousness interacts and with this reality, and interacts in what we experience it as a physical way.
And so the system's literally trying to hijack the body to trick the incarnate soul to do what it wants, or just get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way. So the five senses are only that's left, because we have a five sense mind, and that has a level of subconscious.
Well, there's no doubt, David, that's their goal. That's what they're doing. We can debate all day about who they are or what it is, but we're definitely here. They're out to get everybody, and you've got this huge split of those that are really waking up and totally get it now versus those going deeper in delusion. In the last few minutes we have you, and I appreciate all your time, give us a summation prediction about what you think is going to unfold. I mean, I know most of the future now is up to what we do, and then tell us about your new book that I can't wait to read.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we've got left, but I just want to give you what I feel is.
We got as much time as you want, but I mean, it's gracious to have you here. So I'm going to give you the floor for the next 5-10 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so this is how I see it unfolding, and this comes from many different sources, not all of them of an earthly nature. The body decodes information, the body brain, within a certain band of frequency. And that band of frequency through the five senses basically relates to what we call form. So if it's form, if it's the frequency of form, the five senses will decode it. In other words, we will see it. But anything deeper into the energetic field, the frequency field, that's beyond that band of frequency, the body brain won't decode it and therefore won't see it. And how this manifests in our reality is that we see form and we see empty space between it. And it's not empty space. If you go deeper into that field, you see what I call the field, that all form and all humans, everything is connected by you could visualize it as a Wi-Fi field. It's a field of consciousness, information, possibility, probability that we are interacting with. Now, this cult, this Wetiko cult, wants to dominate this level. It's the field of the simulation. And it wants to hold the field in a low vibrational state because that is going to influence the population, the people, the target population, to go into those low vibrational states. It's a simple thing. If you want to affect all the fish at the same time, then you don't target the fish, you target the sea, and then you've got them all. So it's this sea of energy consciousness that connects everything, connects all of us on a level that we can't see. That this Wetiko cult is targeting. It wants to keep it in a low vibrational state. So the more that they can get people into states of fear, anxiety, depression, all these low frequencies, anger, conflict, and etc., hatred, the more they are generating that low frequency energy into the field, and that field is then affecting everybody else. And you feel this field all the time. You know, you can go into somewhere where this field is particularly not very nice, and you kind of get the chills. Oh dear, what's happening here? You go into a place where there's been a lot of negative activity, maybe murder or whatever, and you feel, oh God, this is horrible in here.
Oh, everybody feels it at the Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah, what you're feeling is the effect of what happened. In other words, the frequencies generated by the behavior of what happened affecting the field. So the Wetiko consciousness wants to dominate this field, and everyone that opens their heart and comes to a higher level of frequency beyond Wetiko. You open your heart, you're beyond Wetiko immediately. They are putting a different energy into the field, and everyone that does it, the field starts to raise its frequency. But this is the external intervention that I've come across from various sources. There is an intervention happening, which is, and I called this intervention back in the first book I ever wrote after my wake up in 1991. I called it Truth Vibrations. This is infusing what we call love, not the love of attraction, the love that holds the whole, infinity together. What we call God is being infused into this field that we are interacting with. And so, what's going to happen in the next the months left of 2021 into 2022 and into 2023 is that this Wetiko, in all its expressions, this cult, through governments and through all these other bodies, is going to throw everything it has to terrify the population, to enslave the population, to impact upon their frequency states, so that they hold down in this frequency field and generate those frequencies into the field. Because this Wetiko, I tell you, knows that this is coming. But as it comes, more and more people awaken, more and more people impact the field on a higher level. The more this love, this high vibrational energy is infused externally.
By the way, David, let me just interject this, because I'm good, you're good, anybody's good that's tuned in at body language. And when I see the royals, the globalists, the Hollywood people, the top folks, their minions, all of them, other than Fauci and Gates, that look like they're having the time of their life, they look horrified and scared, like they know something's coming, and that this is all defensive, what they're doing. So I think you're absolutely right.
The word I've used many times is they are terrified. They are terrified of people awakening, because as people awaken, the field changes, and they have to control the field to hold people in 5 sense servitude. Because once, let me put it like this. If you want to hold something in a natural position, then you have to keep it there. Now, let me take an example. You've got a ball and you've got a tank of water. You want to put the ball in an unnatural position, so you push it to the bottom of the tank. But you can't let go. You have to keep holding it there. That's symbolic of this incessant programming going on all the time, and this fear porn going on all the time. Because the moment you take your hand off it, the ball goes into its natural position, which is whoosh, floating on top of the water. And our natural state is expanded awareness, multidimensional expanded awareness. And we're in a natural state by being held in the five senses. Well, say we, I mean, vast numbers of humanity. And so once, and crucial to this is controlling the frequency of the field, which is constantly suppressing the frequency of the people interacting with it, the fish in the sea, if you like. So when this field changes, it's the equivalent, and this Wetiko consciousness is diluted and weakened. It's being weakened all the time. It really is now. Then it's like taking the hand off the ball. Whoosh, we'll be in our natural state. You won't have to, sit cross-legged on a mountain, working to, expanded awareness, all that stuff. No, you'll be in your natural state because the unnatural suppression of you will be gone. And this is my time scale. 2021, 2022, 2023, they're going to throw everything. They're going to try to terrify the population, demonize the pushbackers so that they conform or whatever, or get marginalized. 2023, towards the end, you're going to start to see the weakening of Wetiko in this second half of 2023. You're going to see the weakening of its impact. 2024, unmistakable signs that the Wetiko grip is basically fatally flawed, and then on the other side of that, those who have had the steadfast fortitude to stick it out will be able to build a new world with a new consciousness, which is based on heart and not head and belly. And I don't. It's not going to be as long as people think, because once the field is cleared of Wetiko, this low vibrational consciousness, manipulative force, then humanity will be a very different. People say, "Well, it's human nature." No. This is the nature of Wetiko humanity. Human nature doesn't have to be like that once Wetiko humanity becomes heart-based humanity. Big challenges, but I tell you, that we are going to win this, and we are going to come out on the other side. And not only is the world as it is going to change, we will have removed a force of evil, absence of love, that has been manipulating humanity from the shadows throughout known human history. It's going to be gone, and the world's going to be a very different place.
Wow. Briefly expanding on that with David Icke here, there's a clip. I'll see if I can find it and add it to this, but Klaus Schwab says so many evil things, but I saw a clip of him like 2 weeks ago go, "We need to keep the lockdowns going for the earth and for the carbon tax." And he said, and the Great Reset is coming. There is anger. There is more anger. So he says, he basically admits the reset is meant to make you angry. And he's getting all excited talking about creating despair and anger like he just cooked himself a big juicy steak. And of course, politically, he's saying create anger to then cause a global change and bring in communism. That's what they're telling their minions. But really, he's just there cooking a big dinner for himself, creating all this pain.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see Wetiko personified, I mean, it's Klaus Schwab. I mean, he is evil on a stick, this man. He has no redeeming qualities.
I mean, exactly. He's not just a minion like Gates. He's like, you can tell he's up there with him.
Yeah, he's up there. He's higher than Gates. Yeah, Gates is gopher, but not a very good gopher. I've said over the last, the period of the COVID era. I mean, if they were going to pick a front man to push this, I thought they'd get one more credible and likable than Bill Gates.
Do we even know anybody that's in the inner circle? Because I mean, I know the Royals are part of that old line. I don't think they're running it. The system they built is running it. I mean, at the heart of this, Rothschilds. We know the Rockefellers are heavily powerful. I mean, who's at the heart of it?
Well, I mean, you're getting close to the spider when you've got the spider at the center of the web. When you've got the inner core of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, yeah. But the inner core of the inner core, they don't put themselves on public display. And as I've said many times, to great ridicule over the years, but I don't care. The spider, in the end, is not human, and I would. The spider, the spider at its core, is this Wetiko consciousness that doesn't take form, but manifests and manipulates through form, and that's it. Once we've rid the world of that, we rid the world of everything that it has manifested, and thus the world must change dramatically from a prison to a paradise.
All right, you hardly ever plug your stuff, but it's all amazing. Tell us about your last few books. New book, how we find all of the censored David Icke information, because only way this gets out, only way your information gets out is when people share it via their email, text message, word of mouth. This is an information war, ladies and gentlemen. We're saving lives here. This is such a moment to be alive. How do people find your full analysis? And you also do videos almost every couple of days on specific topics that I watch. My wife watches them. My family watches them. My children watch them. How do people that just find you here, how do they find David Icke?
Well, actually, a shout out to Band.video, mate. It's absolutely brilliant. I think you've done a fantastic job with that.
That's the crew, so thanks.
Yeah, but well, congratulations to all of them, because they've done a magnificent job with that platform. So DavidIcke.com is the main hub where I put information on about the news and in context every day, and videos and everything like that. Iconic is like a alternative Netflix, and it covers the whole esoteric spectrum from right the way across the nature of reality and everything, nutrition, all of it. And I'm just going up to Derby in the Midlands in a couple of days to the Iconic studio to record a 14-part series on the nature of reality. Kind of things we've been talking about. And we've got an animation team that's doing animations to show what reality.
It's incredible. That is as good as anything you see on HBO or wherever. It's excellent.
Yeah, and so this animation team is visualizing for people what the world looks like beyond the limits of human sight.
Oh, wow.
And how it's actually connected. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the new book is Perceptions of a Renegade Mind. Getting it to America has been a challenge with trying to get space on the containers and the chaos that's going on, but it's there virtually now, and you can pre-order it at davidicke.com. I've done some really big books. This is a very focused book, Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, and it's how part of it is how a renegade mind works. And you've got a renegade mind, for instance. A renegade mind is not one that critically thinks only and sees what is happening. A renegade mind critically thinks, sees what is happening, and then refuses to bloody cooperate with it, and sets out to expose it. And that's the renegade mind that's going to bring this down, among all these other things. And the one before that was The Answer, which is a massive book, which pulls together all these different subjects. So, you do everything you can, like you do, to use every platform and every form of communication to get this across, because it is information. They're not censoring for a laugh. They're censoring because they have to. And that means they're terrified of information they're trying to censor. So we have to be ingenious. And your team have been with Band.video to get this information circulating. And, it's ingenuity. What do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got some inventing to do in the next 2 to 3 years, but it is coming down. It is. Hold that thought, people. It is.
And you said last point, you said it's hard to let David go. This is all amazing. It's also true. We can all see it and intellectually know it and scientifically prove it. But you say, hey, I don't want to be right in the future anymore. It's not about being proven right. It's about, we know what we're talking about. Let's stop it now together. But isn't it, there's not a lot of people out there that I could say are my peers or maybe even my elder like you, who have been right about it all and have lived from the ridicule, like I lived as well, to now being vindicated. There's the power of that perseverance for others that are going to be ridiculed. And then as they see things unfold, they're going to be vindicated. That's so they can then have the respect of others to stop it. So that's the essence of leadership, I think, is perception, understanding, knowing what's going to happen, and being willing to get hurt up front for yourself and for your family and others. And so we've taken our licks, and that's why I want to thank the listeners and supporters for buying your books and supporting us, because we've really come through the fire together, and I don't have a lot of other peers fact, I don't think there are, David. Do we have any other peers out there at this level? I'm not trying to put us in some elite category. It's just I think we should recognize at some point that it's kind of like this binary situation here. I want to see other great leaders. There are out there, just none of I don't think have gotten to this level yet.
Yeah, well, I think there are other people out there. You know, like, Jeff Renson's been around a long time, etc. But it is a small number that have been through the whole period. And what you said there is absolutely right. It's not just knowing things; it's saying things. And when you say them, you're going to get ridicule. You're going to get abuse, but you say them anyway. And if you don't say them, then you're not going to be proved right down the road because you haven't said them. It's no good then saying, well, I knew that. Oh, yeah, you're just saying that. Well, if you say it, well, you're not just saying that, are you? And so it's very important that people speak their truth, because if it has validity, it will be shown to be so. I see you keep getting a few mentions on the Tucker Carlson show now. So,
it's no secret that we've woken up Tucker Carlson, and that's great. And again, it's not about us, as you said. All I'm saying is you really got hit. People laughing at you on the street, same thing. And now they're not laughing anymore because they realize, and again, that's just, we have to recognize trailblazing. It's been done. And thanks to our supporters, they have been just as important as we have, keeping us out there, keeping us on air. But now with the censorship, the support is more important than ever. David, I can't wait to read your new book. Read your last one, and I read your first one. Help wake me up. Thank you so much, David.
No problem, mate. It's been a real pleasure, as always.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, that's David Icke in a truly iconic interview.
Thank you.